The honeymoon is over. At least that's what the news organizations are saying. Aside from the fact that Donald Trump has been continually dominating the betting odds in Vegas and online, we're now getting the actual polls and internal polls. Apparently, according to Kamala Harris and Democrats' own internal polling, yeah, she's actually losing. Now, they try to maintain this in the press by saying, no, it's within the margin of error. But if we're going to track all of this based off of what we saw in 2016 and 2020 plus the midterms, then the bias certainly favors Donald Trump. But that could also be a narrative that they want. It's hard to know for sure. But often they say that if you think you're going to win, you end up losing. So everybody just needs to assume you're losing. However, I think Trump supporters need to be optimistic. And you need to realize that though you may be running full speed toward that finish line, Kamala Harris is right there. Be it shadow campaign or actually just good polls and ballot harvesting, whatever it may be, you got to run twice as hard because you can win. So everybody's got to get out, register people to vote, get that voting done. And we'll talk about that. Plus, we're going to talk about what the campaigns are doing to earn favor in the final stretch of this election. Certainly, it is already election month, which is absurd to say, but it is. Donald Trump is promising that on your car payments, the interest, tax deductible. Tim Waltz is playing World of Warcraft. And you know, the most offensive thing about that is that World of Warcraft is not even one of the top games anymore. It's like, come on, bro. Go play League of Legends at least. I mean, if you played Hearthstone, I'd laugh too, but that seems to be what they're doing. So we'll talk about that. Plus, FEMA's broke. And even CNN is saying Democrats made a big mistake with Elon Musk. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. It's the best coffee you will ever have. Mark my words. I guarantee it. I think I'm allowed to say that or something in commercials because it's an opinion statement. But Appalachian Nights is everybody's favorite. It's my favorite. I have it every morning. And I'm a big fan. And, of course, Ian's Graphene Dream. It finally came true. In coffee form, at least. And it's low acidity. So it's a lot of people say it's easier on their stomachs. Some people say they have a problem with coffee. But this one seems to work. So castbrew.com. But also you can go to Boonies HQ. And we got our skateboards up. A lot of people have been requesting the boobies. No, not those boobies, the booby bird, the blue-footed booby. So if you go to it's boonieshq.com, we're selling tons of these skateboards with the blue-footed booby bird. And so we'll shout it out. Plus we got Step on Snack and Find Out. Still available. We restocked massively because everybody had been demanding them. We'd sold out several, we sold a ridiculous amount of skateboards, like over 600 now, which is nuts in the skateboard industry. But also don't forget, go to timcast.com, click join us or sign up, become a member for $10 a month because we need your support. We come on this show every single night. We challenge the fake news. We share eclectic opinion to keep you better informed and to have a laugh and entertain, right? It's only possible if you are all members. So again, go to timcast.com, join us, $10 a month, and you make this possible. And I really do mean that. It's election season. It's the most important season. So we need you now more than ever. But don't forget to also smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and just share the show wherever you can. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Cody Dennison.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Who are you? What do you do?
Well, I race full time in a NASCAR series called the ARCA Menard Series, and it's been a wild time. I also have a YouTube channel that I've been running for years, and everything just kind of snowballed. And every year there's something new going on, and I don't even know how it began. But that's basically what I do. You
do commentary, and is it considered amateur racing?
Well,
is it professional?
It's professional.
Okay.
It's basically the fourth tier of NASCAR. NASCAR acquired the ARCA Menard Series in 2018 to run it under their banner. Introducing spec engines and stuff like that, spec bodies and whatnot, and that's what I've been doing all year. And it's been a wild ride.
And you're driving the Timcast.
I am driving the Timcast car, and everyone loves it. It's the wildest thing. And I don't know if they're scared to tell me, but you'll have big teams, big teams of recognizable people that come up to me in the garage and they nudge me and they're like, "Man, I love your sponsor. It's awesome." I was like, "Oh,
that's awesome." Shout out to you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
It's
that's
really cool. There's a lot of people, and they whisper it to me. They're like, we really like it, and we hope it's back." So it's been really, really cool. We've had a lot of good runs, and being realistic, when you're racing in these professional sports, they're dominated by people that are bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars, plus manufacturer support from Toyota and Ford and whatnot. And we're actually out there competing. We ran 8th last week at Toledo. We finished 7th in points.
Yeah, wow.
beating out a lot of these people, 10th and owners points. So it was really, really cool. And, the team believes in me. So we're excited to build something real strong and go out there and win some stuff.
It's an honor, man. I was, we go out and we hang out at a sports bar or whatever, and we see on the TV Timcast car driving on the screen, and it's like a crazy feeling to see you out there racing and to see Timcast on the car. It's an honor and a privilege, sir. So it should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. Of course, Seamus is here.
Glad to be back. By the way, I never got into NASCAR, but I think it's super cool. I had no idea you were a race car driver. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, can I just ask like a question or two? I know. Well, I didn't see the back of his shirt, so yeah, I just want to. So you're actually like the driver. You race the car.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
I watched him crash.
Are you serious? How fast are you going around that track?
Iowa, it's probably like 160 on the straightaways. It's a pretty small track.
crazy.
It was sold out. So this year, the sport's growing a lot. And we had 70,000 people at Iowa sold out for our race. The Timcast car out there. And we wrecked, and it was my only wreck of the year. So it was, at least there's that. And you're going to get one somewhere. And we were just running, and I was just running my line. I think we were running 11th, maybe. I don't remember. And it was like a train hit me. It's like one of these guys came around in one of those really, really fast rides, to put us like a lap down. And he just, I guess, overjudged his entry to the corner and just hit us. And like Tim said, we got a lot of screen time.
How fast were you going? Hold on. How fast was he going, and how fast were you going when you got hit?
Same speed, roughly. A couple mile an hour different, maybe.
That's great. So, like you said, like 170?
140-ish, probably.
140-ish? That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we hit the wall, and it's just, you can't explain the feeling.
Wow. No, yeah, I can't imagine.
It's like a grenade going off.
Allison and I were hanging out, and on the TV, we look over off in the distance, and we see the Timcast car, and we're like, hey, look. And the next thing we know, it's on screen for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he crashed. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into everything else. Seamus.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry to derail that. That's awesome, man. So I'm Seamus Coughlin. I do cartoons on a YouTube channel called Freedom Tunes. If you guys want to go over there and check that out, we released a cartoon on Tuesday about Kamala Harris's code switching, her many wonderful accents. We've also got a cartoon coming out tomorrow about the horrible delayed response to the hurricane. The irony is we were actually supposed to release that today, but because of the hurricane, we also had to push it off. But if you guys want to go over there, check that out. We totally scorched Kamala for how horrible her administration and how horribly they've responded to this. So go over there, check that out, subscribe, and I'm looking forward to a good show.
And guess who's back?
Hi, everyone. I'm here. I'm back from Los Angeles. We shot a movie out in LA with Snow Story Productions. I want to give a shout out to Austin Herring, the director, producer, and also Wes Armstrong, one of the other lead actors, and J.R. de Guzman, the other lead actor. Great guys. Wes is he's a what's that, Vine star turned Hollywood director, working with Kevin Hart. Shortly came off of that movie and did this one with me. And then J.R. de Guzman's a nationally touring comedian. The guys are hilarious. It was so fun. So shout out to Snow Story Productions for having me. Looking forward to many more. And also, God bless whoever prayed for this storm to dissipate, because it did. It came in, they thought it was going to be a Cat 5, smashing Tampa Bay, and it came onto the shore as a Category 3. The eye of the storm just evaporated, or whatever, it just dissipated on contact with the shore. So a lot of people were a lot better off than they thought they were going to be.
It was an evil government machine that made the hurricane, but it was God that stopped it.
That's possible.
I'm kidding. Not about the God thing, but the government weather control. But tomorrow on the Culture War podcast, youtube.com/Timcast, it's going to be a ridiculous, raucous podcast discussing weather manipulation.
Shane Cashman talks a lot about Project Popeye, Operation Popeye in Vietnam, where they would seed the weather to scare the enemy and stuff.
We'll get into it. We got Hannah Claire here, too.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm very grateful for everyone in Florida and that you didn't have to go through a Cat 5 hurricane, especially with everything else that's going on. You can find me here on this show. Let's get started.
Here we go. It's from the independent.co.uk. The polls are clear. Kamala Harris's honeymoon period is over. In half a dozen swing states, a razor-thin margin separates Trump and Harris. It's anyone's ballgame, but I'm going to stop right there. The Independent is a little biased, albeit they're British, so we'll cut them some slack because they ain't here in America. But take a look at this from the Post-Millennial. Kamala Harris in trouble in swing states per private polling. Quote, I just saw some new private polling today. That's very robust private polling. She's in a lot of trouble. Political analyst Mark Halperin made the claim on Wednesday, saying that he has seen private polling numbers from Democrats saying, quote, the conversation I'm having with Trump people and Democrats with data are extremely bullish on Trump's chances in at least the last 48 hours. Extremely bullish. So Aside from the fact that here we have Wisconsin, Harris is only up by 0.4. Considering the bias, how about this? Not even any bias, margin of error. Margin of error is going to be 2 to 3 points. At this time last year, Biden was up 5.5 and Clinton was up 6.8. Mind you, Clinton actually lost the election in 2016. And then, of course, my favorite, the the betting odds. Donald Trump, holy crap, I can't believe this. The latest update, ladies and gentlemen, this is massive. We're looking at, what do we have here? 7.6? Is that the split right now? 7.6% in favor of Donald Trump in the betting odds. So if you like Donald Trump, you're probably really happy about this.
Dude, Polymarket had him up by like 11 points or something like that.
Is that a betting?
He's up Polymarket. He's up 11 points in Polymarket right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know that the Democrats are desperate when they bring Bill Clinton onto the campaign trail. I don't know if you saw this.
Pretty bad.
But he's, an obviously sort of controversial figure in modern American history. He was historically popular. So if they're going to Bill, they're recruiting Bill to stump for Kamala. They are really trying to connect, I think, largely with white voters. But I think it is
maybe younger
desperate
ladies.
hour.
He's like,
Maybe.
I'll do the Call Her Daddy.
But like I said, I
podcast.
mean, Monica
I'll get on
Lewinsky is
there.
a folk hero for some feminists. So in some ways,
Which is
bringing
odd,
Bill
yeah.
Clinton on is actually a gamble. That's why I say, like, they are going to throw everything they can because they are not confident in this election.
Well, isn't it so interesting that we never got like a mainstream feminist analysis of the power imbalance that existed between the most powerful man in the country and his intern?
I think you did. I think there are a lot of people.
No, I'm saying in the mainstream. Like, this is not something that the media would touch on, in spite of their left-wing biases and the fact that they believe in girl power and women
but
and
I
want to
think
protect
Monica
them from being
Lewinsky has
assaulted.
become, she's like done the round on podcasts. I mean, she is not the same person she was, or at least her reputation is not the same as it was before. I mean, she had a collaboration with Reformation, like a clothing brand. She is a pop culture icon. And again, this is largely due to the Me Too movement and sex positive feminism. But still, nonetheless, in the 9th hour, they're bringing Bill Clinton onto the campaign trail.
They brought Dick Cheney in, which I thought was shocking. Like
It's hilarious.
the warmongering war arm of the Republican Party now is serving the Democrats. I'm just, and we'll talk about it later. But Tim Walz is like getting with World of Warcraft gamers. Like it just feels massively, really, really desperate.
Well, part of what I thought was so hilarious about the Dick Cheney thing was, okay, so you had Democrats going on and on about gun violence for a week, and then Dick Cheney endorses Kamala and they celebrate. He shot a guy.
With birdshot, right?
He
On a
shot
hunting
guy.
trip.
Yeah, it's like, hold on.
And then they had that day
would
of
flame him for it
Victims of gun
constantly.
violence at the DNC,
Yeah.
but they didn't
Yeah.
mention Dick Cheney then.
They're like, we're going to talk about gun violence, and then we're going to be excited that we got endorsed by someone who shot a guy. And they were talking about that nonstop. The Democrats ripped on him forever over that. But now that he's useful to them, it's no longer a serious matter.
It's like,
I was going to say, I just think it's a double insult to Liz Cheney because she endorsed first. The media gave her some attention. Her dad endorses, and they're like, wow, Dick Cheney is interested. That's amazing.
I see it as like a Potemkin campaign. It's just a visage of a campaign. It's not. They didn't even have a primary. They just said, this is going to be it. Now be afraid of the guy over there and support this fake process. Please just shut your eyes and take the bitter pill and get it over with. Just have this nonsense. And dude, it's just so not. If you're critically thinking, it's quite nonsensical.
Do you think that if they had allowed there to be an open convention and allowed Democrats to stump and basically have miniature campaigns leading up to the DNC, that voters would feel more engaged?
Big time.
That's what I think.
Can I ask you, we were talking about this with Elad yesterday, but do you think Kamala actually has a better chance of beating Trump than Biden did? Or do you think that Biden had a
way better chance. He was a well-known politician for 30 years. Obama's VP for 2 terms, like really well liked by a lot of people, not by everybody, but way better.
You think even after his brain was clearly cooked?
Yeah, but nobody, all people knew was Trump is president and media says orange man bad.
Yeah, it's a vote against Trump. Sorry to interrupt.
No, now we're in the Biden saga with Captain Kamala Harris in second in command, and it's been a catastrophe. So there was this funny. We did a short earlier. Atlantic says for only the 5th time ever, we are endorsing a presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, and the image they use says the case for Kamala, and it shows the Resolute desk empty, and it's just like that's a heck of a symbolism right there. The case for nothing. An empty
also,
White House.
does it for only the 5th time? You mean you've been doing this for 15 years? What are you saying? Like that's
You can really say only the second time.
Only the last 5 election cycles. That's a really long time. That's not a new thing. That's not unprecedented.
About well, they may be saying the past 10 years, like the past 5 we didn't, and it's they're saying over the past 100 years they've done it 5 times.
Okay, possibly, but I don't know. All of these publications started making political endorsements at around that time. That's when they're saying, well, this is unprecedented, so now we need to say something. Remember, Scientific America, I believe, even endorsed, was it Biden or Hillary when they made their first endorsement? But they said, we're going to finally start endorsing candidates. Probably Biden, because I don't think anyone thought Trump was actually a threat in 2016. They did not think he was going to win.
They were giving him a less than 1% chance of winning.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Right now, the betting odds have Trump up 7.6.
Which is crazy.
Look, I say this all the time. Polls are political. Polls are biased, and polls, we can trust them in aggregate to a certain degree. But I trust the money more.
Yeah.
No one's trying to lose money on a bet.
Yeah,
everybody's right. And so now, if you're betting on Trump, you bet what? You bet $100, you're going to get -7. You're going to get -7. You're going to win $90-something. So I look at this and I say people are planning to win. They're not betting to lose. And that says a lot about where the people currently are in what they perceive in the media. And I say that means more than polls.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I think that a lot of the polls will artificially inflate the Democrats' number in order to demoralize Republicans. That said, even though I think Trump is further ahead than the polls are saying that he is right now, there's something I saw a leftist on Twitter say to their audience that I will say to everybody here in our audience. Polls don't vote, right? People do. So make sure you still get out there. Even if it is the case that Trump is 30 points ahead, according to the polls, which he's not right now. You still got to go out and vote. You still got to take this seriously. This is absolutely not guaranteed.
Right. And I think this year in particular, given that I think something like 3 million Americans are without internet connection because of the storms that have rolled through, polls are right now not as accurate as maybe they could be. And,
fair.
I would assume the same thing is true for the betting market. Anything that you would be calculating data or maybe submitting your opinion online, there's a huge portion of people who probably support Trump, because I'm just going off the North Carolina red states that were so impacted, but who could support either candidate who are not able to be surveyed. It was in 2016, everyone's like, the polls were wrong. And except for, I think, Rasmussen was the only one who got it right. But this year, I think the polls actually do not have a chance of being accurate, not necessarily because of bias, but because they cannot get to Americans to survey.
Well, and this is actually part of what I am curious about. Firstly, your point about not having Americans to survey. There was a great Thomas Sowell line. Like the vast majority of Americans, I've never spoken to a pollster. But also, we saw earlier that the likelihood of a Hillary victory was calculated as higher than the likelihood of a Biden victory. So I wonder if they have done something to correct for the numbers since 2016.
I don't know.
And so I think that as people, as conservatives, as people who want Trump to win, we'll look at these polls and say, Trump might be a point behind here, 2 points behind, 3 points behind, but we know that they always artificially inflate the Democrats' numbers. It is possible that they have corrected for some of that. I'm a little skeptical because, again, I think they view putting the Democrat ahead in all of the polls as a demoralization tactic. That said, get out and vote regardless.
Yeah.
You got to get out and vote.
Especially because the down ticket race is really needed. I think sometimes people in areas that are like, well, it's definitely going to, you're from Alabama, so you maybe don't have this experience. But, if you're from a blue area, you're expecting a blue governor, you think, Trump's never going to win my state, or, a Republican will never win this office, so it doesn't matter. And I think especially in the down ticket races, some of them are decided by a few thousand votes. It really does matter if you turn out. You can't just write off your area because of it historically turns a certain color.
Yeah, well, that's true. Even if you're in a deep blue or deep red state, your vote counts for something. Even if you're not able to flip your state, if 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 more people vote for a Republican in a deep blue state than normally do, that tells the Republican Party something about the quality of candidate that they need to be selecting for.
Sure. Yeah, it definitely gives them something to go off of. What if you flip your state senator and that's one more vote in favor of legislation that matters to you on the state level? I know we worry a lot about what the federal government's going to do, and there's good reason for that. But more than likely, it's your state representatives that are going to be deciding the things that immediately impact you, including your state budget. So it matters who you send. And as much, I get why all eyes are focused on the top of the ticket, but I think you have to stay motivated.
I used to staunchly suggest if you don't know what you're voting for, don't vote. But do you think it's better for someone to vote for the same person that someone they respect is voting for if they don't know anything about it than to not vote at all?
That's a really good question. I mean, I've sort of taken a similar line to you in the past, and I even made a video about this for the Foundation for Economic Education, where we were basically saying, if you need a celebrity to tell you to vote, you shouldn't. Like, don't go vote if that's the reason that you're voting. I do think it makes sense. For example, like, let's say you have a married couple, the wife doesn't pay that much attention to politics. The husband says, hey, we should vote for this guy. He's way better. They both vote for him, right? That's one thing. I think that's wise, and that's how it should be if that's the case. But if it's like, the person you respect is not someone who's actually involved in your life, and you respect them because of something that's completely unrelated to their political knowledge or your well-being, then I would say you shouldn't vote based on what they say.
I want to jump to this clip that's gone viral, and I want to stress as we're talking right now, the question Ian asked is, if you, the gist of it is, if you don't really know who to vote for, should you participate or take someone else's advice? Let me play this clip. Watch this.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
Why are you voting for Kamala?
Because Trump fucking sucks. Because she's trying to make the world a lot cheaper to live in. The amount of money that costs to just do anything keeps increasing so much.
So do you think that's Biden and Kamala's fault?
I think that's always been happening. How much things have cost has always been, like, increasing.
So you think Kamala's going to fix it, even though she's already been VP for 4 years?
What did Trump do?
I think he fixed it.
Did he?
Yeah, I think the economy was way better. Houses were cheaper, rent was cheaper, grocery prices were cheaper. What is Kamala's greatest achievement as VP?
Literally don't know. Have no idea.
You don't know anything she's done,
No, I don't.
but she's still the better choice.
Yes, because I know a lot of things that he has done.
Like, you know a lot of things about Trump that are negative?
Yeah. He's racist. He's sexist.
Okay, well, what has he done that's racist?
Specifically, I don't watch anything with Trump in it. I don't watch things politically.
So you just have an opinion, but you don't really know why?
Yeah.
I beseech thee all. I hope and I pray that we make voting hard. Much, much, much harder. That woman should not be voting. Okay?
I would agree.
She doesn't know. Listen, it is, what was it Mike Rowe said? Voting is dangerous. You have a right to own a gun, but guns are dangerous. And if someone is, they take a gun and they do something like they're screwing around with it, people can get hurt. If this woman goes and votes, she could literally be voting to figuratively set the curtains on fire because she has no idea what she's talking about. Why are we allowing people like that? Or I should say, not so much allowing, but why do we accept that as culturally, socially normal? That people who literally are like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm voting for Kamala. Why do we accept that?
I think it's because the other option would be to have some small group of people decide who gets to and who doesn't get to.
Oh, but hold on, Ian, I got to...
No, it's not. Hold on. Yeah. The alternative is like, I don't know, you have to fill out a selective service before you vote?
Well, because, Ian, here's the thing. The more uninformed people there are voting, the easier it is for a small handful of people to gain control over the country because they can just trick all of the dumb people into voting for them, basically.
I'm thinking way back when they started the Constitution and they decided we're going to let everyone that has stake in land vote. Like, why did they say everyone? Why did they say but not the stupid people that aren't paying attention? Because it's like you can't. Who gets to decide who's stupid and who's not paying attention? I mean, she admitted it,
but right. So you don't. You create a system by which it is much more difficult for those that are stupid to negatively impact the system. So the reason why to be a landowner to vote was because if you didn't live here, why are you voting on how we live? Like back in the day, let's say you've got 50 homes and farms. And all of the homeowners are coming together to determine how they're going to handle their local community. And they say, we live here. We're voting. Do you live here? No. Well, then you don't get to vote in how we live. That was basically your ID and proof of being part of the community. Now, I agree. The economy has changed. Population density has changed. We have people who rent. And so an ID perhaps is what you should have. I think in order to vote, you need an ID. But I got one real simple thing for you. I'm going to make it as easy as possible for everyone to vote, okay? You don't need an ID. No ID required. Okay, actually, that's kind of silly. You got to have an ID. But let's make it as easy as possible. Everybody's got an ID. That's fine. And when you walk in, they say, okay, here's the voting booth and here's your ballot. And they hand you a blank piece of paper. That's it.
Oh, I love that.
And you got to write down the position and the candidate who's running and spell it correctly. That's it. because this woman's going to go and she's like, I don't know, Kamala, and she's going to spell it wrong.
Spelling, though, is a tough one.
Don't care.
Just because someone didn't learn the grammar.
I think it would bring back the
Don't
era
care.
of the political jingle because people would be spelling out their names to songs.
That's right.
Like, it's a whole era of creativity we haven't tapped into, or we just see a lot of people changing their names to something like, John Green, Sue, like Sue Black, like whatever it is, because
None of the above.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a weird time in American
confidence.
history, but
Well, you just got to notice that all of the PSAs that tell people to get out and vote will go on and on about how voting is a civic responsibility and duty, but they will never ever tell you that staying informed on the issues is a civic responsibility and duty. And what I'm saying is voting is not a duty, voting is a privilege. Being informed on the issues is a duty, and you have to fulfill that duty before you vote.
Maybe a small questionnaire. I mean, the vast majority of young people can't even tell you what two countries border the USA. It's just a small questionnaire of simple questions to allow people to, move forward and vote.
I think there's potentially something there, but the issue then is who gets to make the questions.
Right, exactly.
And then what they can do is they can say, let's do an AI aggregation of common questions Republicans fail and Democrats don't, and use that as the basis by how you vote. And then you can manipulate. I think blank ballot. You know why? Well, look, it's even, right? Hey, look, all you got to do is know who you're voting for and what they're running for. That's fair, isn't it? Tell me why. Explain to me why we should not have a blank ballot. Give me one good reason why blank ballot is not fair.
Because illiterate people should still have a right to vote.
How do they know what box they're
you
checking?
think an illiterate person is going to look at a paper ballot and not be able to read? And what are they voting for if they can't read the paper ballot?
Just the letter K or the letter D, like Kamala or Donald, and then they'll know. Like they might not be able to spell, but they'll be able to recognize the word.
But the position, no, I disagree.
I don't agree that illiterate
Someone
people
might
should be
look
voting,
at might see Donald and think it says Democrat and vote for the wrong person. That's not fair, is it? So if someone is illiterate and can't vote, too effing bad. What do we do for that?
Well, like the spelling thing's risky because if a guy's name's John and they don't put an H,
Yep.
that's a fail. But
Sayonara.
you better. A lot of people named John. That's
But
a
it's
lot
fair.
of mistakes.
But it's fair. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Anyone can misspell John.
I'm kind of like, if you don't know how to do math, you're get out of my sight kind of guy.
But look,
I
here's
think
my
that's a bit
point.
extreme for voting.
My point is this. There is nothing unfair about a blank ballot. Nothing. You say maybe they misspell, maybe they can't spell. Okay, so illiteracy is not a political position. It's completely fair that everyone is required to know who they're voting for and what position they're running for. And here's the best part. Republicans will win every single election if we did that.
Because of better education.
Because Republicans tend to pay attention more. And I don't want to even say Republicans, but people who are voting Republican now. So libertarians would win every other race. The two parties in this country would be libertarian and Republican.
I have to go back to Ian saying, I'm a if you can't do math, get out of my sight guy. Because now I'm just picturing you at a restaurant as someone's trying to like calculate the tip and you're like, get out of here.
Oh, man. People that are illiterate, sorry, I'm a little extreme with like who I surround myself with. And if people are not stupid, but ignorant, I get a little, they slow things down with their lack of knowledge. It's kind of like, I'm kind and open and I can tolerate people. But if you're not aware and engaged in learning, I'm just like,
Ian's biased against people with dyscalculia.
yeah, dyscalculia, dyspellia, whatever you want to call it.
Dyslexia.
Learn, buddy.
Dyscalculia is when they look at numbers and they can't order them properly. Just like with dyslexia, they might see letters and they can't read them left to right properly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They have text that they made that is on computers, which is easier for people with dyslexia to read.
Interesting.
But the point is this, right now, they would say, like, the illiteracy is not an argument for a blank ballot because everybody has to read the ballot. That's it. So but they can read, but they can't write. What?
Well, they might.
I think something like that's good, but here's the unfortunate reality, and I think this is just ridiculous and a dirty tactic, but trying to have any kind of educational standard for whether people vote is immediately going to be called racist because poll tests were used for racist reasons, and because standards were at one time in one circumstance racist, that means having any standards for voters of any kind for the rest of history is also racist.
The funny thing, though, is what you were saying about the jingle and changing your name is everyone would literally just change their names to like Tim Pool or something.
Well, it's funny
AD
because
Vance.
one of the people in chat, one of the people in chat was like Vivek Ramaswamy would be done.
No, he'd change his name to like V. He would change his name to Vivek, and it would be like Vivek. You're done. But they would do jingle commercials. I still don't care. I literally don't care if it's Vivek or anybody else. If you're voting and you don't even know the name of the person you're voting for, your vote doesn't count. That is insane to me. That someone's going to walk into a polling booth and they're going to be like, here's a person whose name is Jack Smith. No idea who that is, but they get my vote.
Well, it probably come from back when they would have crowds of people and the two candidates would be like, vote for me. And the other guy would be like, well, actually, vote for me. And you're like, I like that one. I'm voting for that guy. You didn't have to read or write.
That's not true.
150 years ago, people didn't really
150 years ago, you had to go to a polling station and write down the person's name yourself. And so what the parties would do is they would issue papers with people's names on it to the citizens being like, this is a list of the people you should vote for if you support us. Then they would go in and write down those names and submit them. That's how it works.
The idea that is too much to ask in order to participate in selecting the leaders of the most powerful nation on the planet is ludicrous.
Like in Greece, they would, 2,000 years ago, they'd have a black stone and a white stone, and you just put whatever color stone you wanted in to vote for your candidate or vote for your idea, because they probably didn't have literacy.
The one time they got 8,000 stones at midnight. They're like, it's crazy.
They're all painted black.
Looks
They were
like
originally
I
white.
win.
No, it's just the funny thing is the guy carrying the rocks struggling to bring the mail-in votes in.
I just collected these from my friends.
3 a.m, all these rocks we found.
Is there a way to like write down the names of the people, but it doesn't matter if it's spelled exactly right?
No.
That might be better.
Got to spell it right. Don't care.
That's tough.
Literally don't care.
Because literacy isn't part of being able to vote.
Look, man.
It totally should
could be.
It totally should be.
It's like what the British English library, you got to learn that and memorize that to participate in the system.
I got to say, it would also be one thing if, man, I mean, I'm about to walk back what I was about to say, because I was going to say we have an educational system that teaches people how to read and write, but we actually don't. We really don't.
I was gonna say we don't need any reason to deter people from becoming literate. I think that's a good goal.
Yeah.
How does it make sense in any other system to allow people to vote on how those systems function? Okay, so I work at a hydroelectric plant, and I was hired to run it. I know how all the systems work, and I'm in charge. And then, let's put it to a vote. Okay, there's an emergency. The alarm's going off. Let's put it to a vote to what to do. Janitors, what say you? The janitors might be like, look, man, I can make this place shine like you've never seen it shine before. But these guys don't know how to run a hydroelectric plant. Why do they get a say in how it runs? That's insane.
Basically, they're voting for electors. That's what we have in our system, too, is you're voting for electors. You're not actually voting for Donald Trump directly.
Yeah, the founding fathers are smart people. They were like, they created layer upon layer to make sure that there were smarter people who were well-informed on how these things run, who were in charge while still keeping some democratic element of it.
So if the electors could use discernment and say, I got 81% of the votes spelled correctly for Donald Trump and 19% of the votes were incorrect. So I, as an elector, can decide not to acknowledge the 19% of the incorrect, or I could use discernment, but then you're kind of leaving it up to how the guy feels.
Well, it depends on if there's an official policy there for that type of thing.
There's so many ways to misspell a word, like John, for sure. Like it's one of the most common name in English.
I guess my point is you would just have to have a standardized policy. Like you would either be in a county or state or municipality that counts ballots that are spelled incorrectly or doesn't. But it could not be up to the discernment of whoever happens to be counting
the ballot counter, that would be way worse.
Yeah.
Do you think that people are motivated to vote this year, or do you think they're, more likely to stay at home?
I think people are motivated because everybody's almost hyper radicalized. It seems more tribal this time around. So I feel like people are really charged up to vote, which I think actually plays well for Donald Trump.
Tribal on both sides?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a small percentage of people that I feel like do their own research and but there's also people that just, they follow their confirmation bias wherever they go. It doesn't matter. It's like the girl in that clip. She's just repeating what 1 or 2 or 3 of her friends told her. That's why she can't give any, actually examples for what she's, what she believes. And that's a lot of people. I had a friend recently, and I say recently, it's about 6 months ago, and they knew me from YouTube, and they said they really wanted to move down south because they live in like LA, and they hate it there. It's awful. They hate it. They hate having to be fake. They're in the entertainment industry, and they have to parade around, like repeating the same weird kind of like extreme leftist positions to try to get promotions and job opportunities in the entertainment industry. She said that people would just walk up and just say things like open conversations about how Donald Trump's racist, just randomly, and that's how you would go about these situations to try to get job opportunities. But they said they wanted to move, down south, and they are not white. So they were like, well, I'm just terrified I'll go down south, I'll get to Alabama or Tennessee, and like people will kill me for being, Hispanic or something. And I'm like, you've definitely never been anywhere around. For one, these places are extremely diverse, and two, it's not 1862.
Yeah.
And it's all because it's repeated in popular media.
Yeah, I had a really, really woke white friend tell me something similar. She had wanted to move, and she was like, but I could never go anywhere in the South because they're all homophobic and racist. And I was like, but have you ever spent any time in the South? And she's like, no, I haven't. I just know this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
okay.
I saw an infographic floating around on Twitter that some lefty posted that had like thousands and thousands and thousands of likes and shares about sundown towns in the United States.
Yes,
and it
I've
had a
seen that
bunch
one.
of towns labeled as sundown towns. Like, wow. I was like, you have to be kidding me.
That's just farming.
It's just
Farming. It's just it's
it's
crazy.
just not true. They'll say like, yeah, this is a town where like if a black person is there, they'll get arrested or hurt. It's like that you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a liar. That doesn't happen. That's
Well, it's like the
but
human
people
rights-
live in this world.
Yeah. The Human Rights Campaign, I think, released, or it's an LGBTQ organization. They would release a domestic travel advisory. Like, forget all the other countries where actually being gay is potentially something that could put your life in danger. They're like, Florida wouldn't advise going there.
Florida, the Gators don't even like them.
Let's jump to this story from the Post-Millennial. Got a couple stories for you. This is funny. Trump touts American manufacturing tax breaks for U.S. companies that make goods at home in speech to Detroit Economic Club. Ah, yes. He mentioned lowering taxes. He says that your interest payments on your auto payments, they're going to be tax deductible so that working individuals have more money in their pockets. He's talked about no tax on overtime. He's talked about no tax on tips. And what do you think Harris Waltz has to counter this amazing maneuver in this campaign season?
The same thing.
rat.
The same thing. Oh, no, Tim Waltz held a rally next to World of Warcraft.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
this is incredible because this is the meme. There was a meme going around where someone made a video of Harris Waltz doing a rally while someone was playing one of those games like Jungle Runner. You ever see that? Or Subway Runner or something? What are they called?
Where you're just constantly running
it's-
left
yeah.
or right.
No, I know what you're talking about. That
Because-
TikTok trend, yeah.
Right, because people would make videos where they would talk about stuff. This has been a long trend on YouTube for a long time where someone plays a video game while talking about something. And so a lot of podcasts were video game play. And then the funniest thing that would happen is when people started to realize that these videos did well, they would take other people's gameplay, put it on the screen, sit back and start talking. So they'd simulate them talking while playing a video game. Well, I guess this is what Harris Waltz thinks is going to counter the Trump rally. Look, Trump has a rally where he's like, we're gonna cut your taxes, ladies and gentlemen. And Tim Waltz has a rally. He's like, look, they're playing World of Warcraft. Now, the most offensive thing about this is not even that Tim Waltz had a video game playing at his rally. It's that they chose World of Warcraft. I played World of Warcraft in 2006. Okay, this is an old game. The user base is way down. No offense to my WoW friends. I know y'all still play. There was Dragonflight? Was that the latest
Yeah, I
expansion?
just got it.
Yeah. But look, the game is nowhere near where it was in vanilla. Sorry. And I was a huge World of Warcraft player.
It's a lot more action-packed now. Like, it's more like less attention span type of game. Like, it used to be you'd hit up your friends and be like, hey, you guys want to go do a dungeon? And it would be like, yeah. Let me take 20 minutes to fly to you, and then we'll find some other people. And you're like, looking for someone that can be a tank, and you're talking to people and getting to know people.
ruined it.
And now it's just you push a button, you queue up, you get in, and your dude's already running forward, attacking the tank, and you're just chasing after him, trying to heal him. And then the dungeon ends, and they just disappear.
This is kind of wild, too, because without going and wasting time, do they not realize that's what ruined the game? That it was fun when it was hard to build communities and earn the success in the game. But I digress. Back to what people really care about, which I got to be honest, most people probably actually care about the video game. But we talk politics here. Donald Trump is offering real tangible things to the voters. I'm not saying, I know, obviously Democrats are going to say, you can't compare the two, that's not fair. But this seems to be a component of their strategy to get young people or
Can
something?
I draw a different comparison?
Sure.
This makes me wonder if this shows us a difference between the two sons of these campaigns, right? Like, if this is advice from Tim Walz's son and Barron Trump is like, Dad, go on Theo Vaughn's show. I'm a huge fan. Like, maybe just the youth outreach element. I mean, we saw this a little bit with Ella Emhoff, right? Like, I think some of the appeal with Brat Summer, and we must listen to the pop culture icons or whatever else, like if you are surrounded by youth who are like, no, this is cool, then you are going to believe them and reach different audiences.
I love the idea. I thought you were going to go here with this. I love the idea that Tim Walz' son was like, Dad, you have to have World of Warcraft playing alongside you while you speak. And Barron Trump was like, Dad, you need to make interest payments on car loans deductible. That is what is going to get Americans to vote for you. But the reality is that's actually a very interesting and well thought out policy. Whenever Democrats propose things like this, it's like, let's give you free college. Like, let's just hand something out for free. And it's not really a well thought out or intricate plan for how you could actually help the economy. I don't necessarily know that I would agree with writing off the interest that you're paying on a car loan. But obviously the auto industry has not been in great condition. COVID really did a number on them. I know that car dealerships, not a lot of people know this, car dealerships, as far as I understand, they can actually tack extra percentage points onto your loan that end up getting paid to the dealership, and that's one of the ways that they make money. And so this would also, regardless of how we feel about that practice, is clearly something that would keep dealerships open, even though that's not a policy that I love. Point is, this is clearly something that some thought has gone into, and not how can I pander to the least educated group of voters with free stuff.
It's what I see every single time I scroll my feed. I'll see Trump saying something about tax cuts, and I don't want any. Taxation is theft. I'm done with it. I'm done, especially when you see the 12% self-employment tax, and you're like, I just want to die.
It's crazy. No, yeah, when you're self-employed, it's insane.
Yeah, it's
the amount
insane.
that they take from you.
But then I scroll down my feed a little more, and I just see a celebrity number 1A is now supporting Kamala Harris, and it's all aimed at just Zoomers. Like they putting a game besides, now granted it's not a game that would appeal, I feel like appeal to Zoomers. Maybe it's they're trying to get people in their 30s because we used to play it, but it's just this hyper attention like deficit audience that needs a game.
I was going to say, I thought it was an ADHD thing where you listen better if there's this other thing moving or so. I don't know what it is.
And I get frustrated because I'll scroll, through Reels or something on Instagram, and it'll be one of those things where somebody's talking about something important and then somebody's welding beside it on a different screen, and I just immediately scroll because I don't need the distraction. I like to watch, or hear whatever somebody's saying. And that's crazy to me that you have one where there's all these policies, and then you have the other is just, here's these celebrities that no one cares about.
That's the astroturfing I mentioned earlier in the show, where it feels like it's the Potemkin candidate. Like this guy, they're just putting him near cool things and hoping that it catches fire. Like when I saw this story, for a moment I was like, oh, he plays World of Warcraft? Tim Walz? What's his class? I asked my buddy who sent me the article. He was
That's
like,
what they're
Dwarven
looking
Rogue.
for.
Yeah, and I was like, he plays Dwarven Rogue? Like, how long has he been playing? Did he just make a character? And then I find out he's just given a stump speech next to this guy named Preheat. You want it closer to the face? Serge, give me the wind it up.
But that's all he was doing is like someone's playing a video game while he talks.
Yeah, I thought he was playing at first, and then I was like, okay, it could either be awesome because Tim Walz has been playing Warcraft for 17 years, and now I'm finding out, or it could be really lame that he just made a character. But it's even worse. He's just giving a speech next to Preheat.
You thought it was a put a gamer in the White House moment, and it is not.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I can identify with this guy. Maybe there's something more to Tim Walz than the weird freaking out looking face thing.
They're just throwing stuff at the wall. Well, every day it's something completely different and something just off the wall. It's going on a random podcast. Like, I don't even remember what it was called. What was that podcast you went on?
We were talking about this, the Call Her Daddy podcast.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
But this also, look, it used to be the case that the voting age in this country was 21 as well. So it wasn't just, and we were just talking about this, how Trump has these well thought out policies, and you've got all these celebrities endorsing Kamala to try to pander to some 18-year-old who didn't know anything yet. You got to remember, back when the voting age was 21, this was at a time where people were already living on their own and providing for themselves by the time they were 18. You go even further towards the founding of our country, it was like by the time you were 16, you were expected to be able to provide for yourself. So by the time you were 21, you had been living in the real world, dealing with real problems for several years. And then at that point, we were willing to allow a citizen to make civic decisions. Today, you're not even on your own or considered independent in most cases till you're about 22 years old. When you're done with college, it's not considered abnormal to live with your parents before then or not be taking care of yourself. And we let people vote before they even reach that age.
Here's the pitch from Trump. He should say, we're going to raise the voting age to 32, and that way Gen Z, the Democrats, will stop pandering to you. They'll leave you alone, and your advertisements will be K-Flub and Snoosh Snoosh and whatever celebrity name I don't know.
I actually can't think of, other than people who are 18 years old entering military service. I mean, there's some exceptions you can make for people who are really giving to the country, but the idea that by default you are able to vote at 18, I think is ridiculous.
What about one vote per household? And that way, if you're still dependent, you can't vote.
Nope.
Well, then
because
you'd have to wait it.
Children
because
dependents.
You have to wait it on the basis of children.
Nope. Because what you are saying then, as single women get more voting power than married men. And
Poor
women.
people
That's what I'm
would
saying.
get
You'd have
less,
to
too.
wait it. You'd
Absolutely.
have to wait it on the basis of the household. So if it's a single household,
If
but
you have-
you
how
have
about
8
this?
people there and you're the head of household, you get 8 votes.
How about this? If you don't have kids, you can't vote.
I think there should be a question about who we allow to vote. But to your point about 18-year-olds, yes, we now treat 18-year-olds like they are actually children. Like, we needed to decide as a culture if we're sticking with 21, and that's true for all kinds of stuff, or if you are an adult at 18 and our expectation is that you behave that way. Because right now we're kind of doing the worst of both, right? You can't drink until you're 21, but a lot of Americans are starting to drink at 18 because they go to college, which, by the way, they're allowed to sign up for massive amounts of student loan debt, which they can't default on, but they also can't really do anything because we don't expect them to because they're just ridiculous young adults. Like, it's this it's the worst of both because it doesn't incentivize making adult decisions, but it does line you up for long-term financial consequences.
And they're okay with you making adult decisions, particularly the left is okay with you making adult decisions if it's a way for them to exploit you. So, for example, when you're 18 and don't know any better, they'd love for you to vote. They even want to lower the voting age depending on how far they are onto the left because you're easier to exploit. These are people who will tell you that when you're 18 years old, you're too foolish and underdeveloped to be able to take out a loan, but you're mature enough to go post on OnlyFans and have those pictures be on the internet forever. So it's totally incoherent. The reality is they want to get as much as they can from younger people. They want to exploit them maximally. They also know that even the efforts that they claim they're engaged in to make younger people's lives easier are also just another method of exploiting them. For example, student loan debt forgiveness. That is one of the most regressive tax proposals in the country. It redistributes wealth from low earners to high earners. But they're doing that in the name of helping younger people who've taken out these predatory loans when the reality is it's just to buy their votes. So it is literally all about taking everything from them that they can.
Right. I mean, if they were serious about it, both candidates would vow to stop issuing federally backed student loans, but they're not going to.
And this is not some fringe right-wing opinion. Like the National Bureau of Economic Research has pointed this out, that universities respond to tax-subsidized, federally subsidized student loans by raising tuition costs.
Yes. Because they just expect the students to go into debt for it.
Exactly.
So, my friends, while we were just previously discussing what Tim Walz was doing to compete with Donald Trump's new tax cut plan, what do you think Gretchen Whitmer is doing to try and boost her standing in this year political field? Pilates. If you guessed Pilates, you'd be wrong. It would be feeding a woman on her knees a Dorito.
Disgusting. It's so weird.
Which I don't even understand what this is. Like, look.
I interpreted it. First of all, you pointed out on your Twitter, and I agree that it looks very fetishy and weird, but it's clearly a mockery of the Eucharist, right? She's like delivering this as if she's a priest giving the body of Christ to a parishioner. She's feeding a Dorito to a citizen, which it's just weird.
Food coloring is pretty toxic, I think.
Okay, and you have 2 daughters. When they come back home and they leave their Stanley cups lying around, do you ever think about getting a post-birth abortion?
Well, first of all, thank you for raising that because there's no such thing.
Great.
So I think it's really
On the
important
record.
for us to make sure people understand that when.
I don't understand like how they just lie. It's like they're just evil because it was former Governor Northam, right? It was Northam, and he was like, the baby will be delivered, then will be made comfortable, brought into another room where the doctor and the mother will make a decision. Like, what do you think that means?
This is one of the only things Obama voted against in the Senate, by the way, was a bill that would require you to save a child that was born after a botched abortion.
Here we go. You ready?
Okay, and then speaking of men who lie, would you rather be in a forest alone with Donald Trump or with a bear?
A bear.
A bear?
That's a lie.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I might have a better shot of reasoning with the bear.
He'll actually listen.
You know what this reminds me of?
She should try it.
I'm sorry. This reminds me of a bit that I have to pull up right now from Ryan Long and Danny Polishchuk.
Both geniuses, by the way.
And Seamus knows exactly what I'm talking about.
We were crying earlier watching this.
We were crying.
crying.
Yeah.
While you're finding it, Seamus, will you do a cartoon where somebody asks the bear if they'd rather?
That's hilarious. Yes, Bear's like, look, I don't want to be alone with any of these women. These are all lunatic lefties. They're gonna say I misgendered them or something and destroy my life. I don't need that.
You'd be like, Kamala Harris or a bear hunter, and the bear's like, I'll take the bear hunter.
Would you rather? You ask the bear, would you rather be trapped in the woods with Donald Trump or Gretchen Whitmer? And he goes, well, Donald Trump.
He's like,
and then he's like, have you seen the video? she'd rather be with me than Donald Trump. Here we go. Here we go. Shout out to Ryan Long.
You know, recently there's been a lot of articles
And Danny.
pointing out how men are far less emotionally intelligent than women and how that's been ruining their relationships.
Oh, yeah. You know, I always say the wife's more intelligent than me. Emotionally, of course.
You know, it's unfortunate, but it's a department that we lack in. Last week we're at the airport. Our plane gets delayed an hour, whereas my natural instinct would be to say, it is what it is, there's nothing we can do. Brittany had the emotional intelligence to realize this is a big deal. We should be arguing with anyone who will listen, and in general, just going ballistic, regardless of whether or not it'll help.
Look, it's not about whether or not it helps.
No.
For example, say you plan an outdoor event and it begins to rain. An emotionally unintelligent person like myself might suggest some sort of alternative or contingency, or maybe we'll do it on another day, as opposed to realizing that this is in fact the end of the world and you should be flying off the handle.
You know, whether you're reading an article about COVID coming back or your Uber Eats driver brings you the wrong order, we as men do not have the emotional intelligence to realize that not only is this something we should be freaking out about, but we should also be becoming actively hostile to others who are remaining calm.
Dude. Ryan and Danny, a grand slam on that one. But look, when I watched this ridiculous thing, which it is insanity. And I'm just going to throw it back to that woman. We were covering the segment previously where a woman's like, Donald Trump is, it was funny what she says. He's like, you're going to vote for Trump or Kamala over Trump? And she goes, yeah, because I know what Trump has done. What did Trump do? I actually don't know. I don't watch any clips. She had no idea what she was talking about. I look at this stuff with Whitmer and this woman, and these are people who clearly have no idea what's going on and are just, they may as well be playing some kind of weird, I don't know, a Simon Says game with each other where they're trying to figure out what is or is not acceptable based on arbitrary criteria. Meanwhile, me, who's just horribly emotionally unintelligent, thinks that we should have logic and reason behind the decisions we make that will ultimately lead to more fruitful society. If only I was as emotionally intelligent as Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah.
I just think without Donald Trump, they would have very little to talk about. And that is sort of a problem among itself, right? If they're supposed to be two average to above average intelligent women, why are all these jokes so lame? And why can't you actually articulate a new and original thought? Oh, you don't like Donald Trump? You're recycling a joke that was kind of viral months ago? Like, okay,
Yeah.
you can drop Stanley cups because you're kind of making fun of basic white girls. Like, I don't get it. It's just not that deep, and you're not that good at this.
Well, also, I mean, man, I hate to be that guy, but
No, you
if
don't. You're so
I
happy.
don't, I
You're
love being
literally
this
grinning.
guy. I love being this guy. If a male politician was like, you know, I think I would be able to reason with an animal better than I can reason with a woman, I think that might send shockwaves through the media.
Doesn't that just
In
sound
fact, I
stupid?
think that would end that man's political career. Unless, honestly, Trump's someone who might be able to get away with saying it, but he wouldn't say that.
It's if he was like a dog, if they're like, you be in the woods with a dog or with Kamala Harris, and you're like, I'd take the dog because the dog could help you hunt. But if it was a hostile animal that wanted to eat
specifically
you,
about Kamala Harris, no, I mean, if it's specifically Kamala Harris, I might even pick like a hostile animal.
a bear.
It's
Wait,
not-
you're that guy.
Yeah, but what,
that
I'm
guy,
not
Seamus.
sitting there. No, she said just a man. Oh, she said Donald Trump or a bear. That's fair. I thought she said a man or a bear. Okay,
No, it's Donald
yeah.
Trump specific.
Yeah.
Specifically.
You know, this is like she lied because obviously if really it came down to the end of the show and it's like, I have no choice, I'm in the woods alone, I can have this guy I don't like or a wild bear next to me right now, I'd take the guy I don't like. Thank you. It's like she has never really faced professional consequences for lying.
Well,
it's kind of what or this is a sketch. Is that a journalist that's talking to her, or is that just some actor? Like, is this supposed to be a sketch?
Podcaster, I think.
A podcaster, so they're just having. It's like it's blending the line between politics and fake sketches, and people don't know that.
I'm just saying, I would still pick a bear over Kamala because she has a Glock.
The bear or Kamala?
Kamala has a Glock.
Do we know that she knows where it is?
Yeah, exactly. She
I
couldn't
don't
answer a
think she
question
knows.
about it. Yeah.
I'd take Kamala.
Actually,
She's
has a
smart.
clock. She doesn't know the difference.
She probably knows how to get a fire started.
I don't think Kamala knows how to get. I really do. I just.
Bro, did you see her try to open that beer on Colbert?
No.
I'm sorry. The first thing when I saw the clip, I was like, did she ever have a beer before? The way she was looking at it, the way she grabbed it and tried to crack it open, the way she took a little sip and then put it down. She just okay. First of all, I'll say this: she doesn't drink beer. She drinks wine. I bet. Even SNL roasted her for being a wine drunk, but she doesn't drink beer. Okay, she's not gonna be able to start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Man, why'd they have her drink alcohol on TV? That's crazy. Like she might really
supposed to
be
make
because
it seem
Colbert.
relatable.
Because that's
Right.
what they think. This is how low of an opinion they have of your average American. They think a regular working class guy is going to see that and go like, "Whoa, Kamala likes beer. I like beer.
She's
She's cool."
I got a cartoon for you. It's a guy watching TV and he's watching Colbert hand her a beer and crack it open. And then he looks down at his cooler and it's empty. And then he looks at he goes, "Rah." He gets up and he opens his wallet and it's empty. He's like, "Rah!" And then he can't even have beer. Or it's like his beer is empty and he can't have one.
Certainly not the champagne of beers.
Not the champagne of beers.
Whitmer's-
She like turns the can to read it and she's like, "The champagne of beers." Like, ma'am, you asked for Miller High Life. Have you ever seen a can of Miller High Life before? No. Her staffers asked for it. She probably doesn't even know what a beer looks like.
Her staffers probably tested a bunch of different brands. They're like, that one's too controversial. We got to go with this one. I just want to point out that Whitmer is deeply involved with the Kamala Harris campaign. She was one of the first people to endorse. I think she either is an advisor on the campaign or she's heavily involved with one of the big super PACs. And so this is another perspective into apparently what we can expect from female Democratic politicians in America. Like, they think this is the best media move. And I just don't. I think that there is a level of sort of gross self-absorption in all of this. And I don't think that even, young moderate women would find this relatable or enjoyable.
I just want to say, I'm kind of a liberal guy, right? So I don't have the disgust reaction reflex that Seamus has. And he does. Like, when Kamala went on Call Her Daddy, my reaction was, haha, what a fool, what an idiot. Seamus was legit like, turn it off. This is disgusting.
Well, what happened was I tried listening to some of it, and it was just, at some point, it was more of a moral disgust, because they don't actually get into discussing anything like viscerally repulsive. They're not talking about the gross sexual degenerate stuff there, but they were talking about stuff that was pretty morally repugnant.
The reason I bring this up is that, depending on the subject matter, Seamus, who is of good moral standing, will be like, no, this is bad.
I don't know about that, but...
And someone like me, growing up in the city, and I'm not a Christian conservative guy, I'm more tolerant. But I got to tell you, this clip I'm going to show you from Whitmer fills me with absolute disgust.
This is gross.
And I say something like, Kamala's disqualified because she did not do this thing right, or she's giving away our money in this regard. Gretchen Whitmer should be disqualified from office for this video.
It's super gross.
This fills me with like, the feeling you get when you feel like you're going to throw up.
Yeah.
Combine that with rage, like anger.
Oh man, that's projectile vomit territory.
It is. It's like it's going to go. Like, so the video, for those that are just listening, is this woman on her knees. And Gretchen Whitmer slides a Dorito into her mouth with weird pop music, and then she shakes her head and smiles, and Gretchen Whitmer gives this weird look to the camera. It looks like weird fetishist content.
And her Harris Walls hat.
And a Harris Walls hat. She's clearly trying to insult Christians. Like, that was the message. Insult Christianity.
It looks like either like weird fetish content or like something an AI made. Like, show a politician giving food to the masses. And
like one of those Will Smith eating spaghetti AIs.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Is that her like showing?
Those don't disgust me.
Like is she being like, I'm feeding you grapes, like kind of metaphor, like I'm your servant, whoever this woman is.
Girl
Like, reparations.
Super. I guess she's whatever this Instagram handle is. Femistabulous. I don't know how to pronounce that. It looks like the girl is sort of worshiping at the feet of Gretchen Whitmer, so thankful to be fed a Dorito. I know people have drawn comparisons to receiving the Eucharist.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It looks like it's trying to mock that.
Whatever it is, it's weird and unappealing. Like, Gretchen Whitmer doesn't look like she respects this other woman in the room. She doesn't look like she's a very nice person. And so this is our, politician? There are people who think Gretchen Whitmer is going to run for president in 2028. I mean, this is the attitude and culture that is supposed to be representing female politicians in America? I hope not.
It's very, very creepy and very weird. And I assume the Dorito thing is supposed to be a reference to Kamala Harris talking about eating Doritos. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
When she was doing her, like, I'm a relatable, normal person, I eat Doritos thing. That
like Emhoff and Tim Walz were like rushing to hand her bags of Doritos in the gas station, that one clip.
Are they funding? Is the Doritos company funding the Walls Harris campaign?
Frito-Lays?
She's sponsored by them.
Frito-Lays owns Doritos.
What do you? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to rope you into that. Like, when you see this, like, what do you think? Yeah. Like, when you see this, like, how
does this make you feel?
Yeah, how does this make you feel?
I don't really know. I think what bothers me about this whole ordeal is, and I'm not particularly a smart man, but when I see all this parading, especially in politics, but especially this time around, because I think Harris is just a very bad actor. I think you need to be good at acting in some regard to pull off a lot of these things. And watching all these overt, hey, look, I'm just like you type things, that's what's disgusting to me. I can't stand that kind of stuff. I can't stand when somebody opens a beer and sips it It's like their Tinder bio says I love beer, and they don't. They drink White Claw. I don't.
You should have had a White Claw. That would have been way funnier. If she had been like, "Look, this is what I like," I think people would have responded better to that. But they're pandering so hard, which I think is what you are turned off by.
Do they think that some working class white dude is looking at Kamala being like, I'd like to have a beer with her?
No.
That was the argument made about Tim Walz. They were like, well, who would you rather have a beer with? Tim Walz. What was it? There was some guy on some late night show or something, or CNN, and he's like, my neighbor is like a Republican guy. And he said, yeah, but I'd rather have a beer with Walz. And I'm like, I wouldn't. I'd rather have a beer with Vance. JD Vance plays Magic the Gathering.
Oh, we should game with them, dude. Yeah. Yes, rock. I'd rather have a beer.
Oh, they're so mad about this too. I'm sorry, but like when word got out that JD Vance played Magic, all of these woke Magic people were like, and they're screaming. And then they found out I played Magic. They got so mad.
Dude, it's gonna be so fun. Let's play, Commander. Let's get pre-made decks though, so it's balanced, because otherwise you're gonna stomp. But anyway, I'd rather have a beer with Joe Biden. For sure. At this stage where him getting shoved aside, I want to hang with that dude and because he's like
he's loose-lipped and mad right now. He's giving all the secrets out.
What classified stuff is he just going to accidentally let slip? Or you're like, what did he just say? And he doesn't even remember he said it?
Yeah, I'm starting to like him more and more now that I see he's like just pissed that he got shoved aside. Like I just sense that in him, that he's just like.
He always had kind of like an attitude. He would get abrasive. I mean, he's always had kind of a temper.
Get vaccinated.
Well, here's a question: you'd grab a beer with Joe Biden, but would you let Joe Biden feed you a Dorito while you kneeled? That's the
depends on how drunk I was.
That's the other thing.
How hungry I was.
A feminist podcaster would never do that if she had a male guest on her show.
Can you imagine?
It's weird that she's okay with this weird stance.
And it would be. That's the other thing is it would just be weird. Like if a feminist podcaster did that with a male guest, like it wouldn't like. Red pillars and stuff wouldn't even think that was cool. It would still just be uncomfortable for everybody. Who likes that? Who's watching
I was thinking that if that had been me and she was feeding me the Dorito, how weird that would have been.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking, who is this for?
Yeah.
When you first played it, I was like, who is this for? Who sees this? And they're like, yeah, I want to vote for these people for sure.
I wasn't going to, and then
Whitmore is actively a governor right now, right?
That's
like,
wild.
Isn't that crazy? This is a sitting politician in America.
Doesn't she have a kidnapping to stage or whatever? Or I guess that was
that was already done, and actually the FBI was involved. The whole thing.
Did this spawn from like a show she did with that podcaster?
I think it's the promotional video for this interview that we saw clips of in the post-millennial
so this
article.
is a style of humor that I don't get.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
And it's not. The thing is, even if it was a joke, which again, I'm with Tim. I think it's a weird fetish thing. But even if it was just a joke, at some point, as an elected official, you have to go, I'm not doing that joke. That's a weird joke. It's not going to sit well.
I have limits.
My constituents.
Let's jump to this next one, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great story from Politico. Scoop, Tim Walz to kick off man-focused media blitz. GMA interview with Michael Strahan on football field. Michigan events on Friday geared toward black men. Friday night lights at Mankato West. Pheasant hunting with social media influencers. Wow. Walz's folksy relatability on TV played a central role in elevating him to Harris's running mate this summer. Would you guys want to go pheasant hunting with Tim Walz?
I can't wait to see that. What male influencers have agreed to go pheasant hunting with Tim Walz? Like, I have to know now.
I can't wait to see
Chris
him chamber.
Mowry, what are those kids' names?
Oh yeah,
I don't remember those guys' names. You know, the 20-year-old dudes who like make those cringe videos together where it's like they're weirdly obsessed with Kamala and Joe
Harry
Biden.
Sisson?
Yes.
Oh my
Harry
gosh,
Sisson.
dude.
Pheasant
He was
hunting with
throwing
Tim Walz
plates
is
at a wall.
comic gold.
Did you see that where he was throwing plates at a wall? It's like, oh my gosh. Is this what they think is going to appeal to men? That's like something that like a bipolar woman who thinks she's being cheated on does. Don't throw plates at a wall and then do it in front of a camera like you think that's going to make your political cause look good.
Yes.
Were they throwing like frisbees or just?
No, they're whipping them at a wall to break it.
Is that you wouldn't go pheasant hunting with Tim Walz?
I got to be honest. I might go No, I wouldn't go pheasant.
I'll tell you the truth. If he called me and it was like, you want to go pheasant hunting, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get involved with the process. I feel like I can make them all better people and probably enhance the best candidate.
I don't trust
by
him.
talking about
I
the
don't trust
fact
him.
that Dick Cheney once was in a shooting-related incident because of hunting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know which, and I'm obviously being super stereotypical here, but what Democratic influencers who seem like they could be masculine enough to hold a gun would also be safe enough to go pheasant hunting with? I just can't name one.
Guys, I honestly think that the actual campaign with Harry Sisson and this other dude It's intentionally to make them as cringe as possible so that no one wants to support Democrats. Here, watch this.
Trump's paying for
If I
it.
make this throw, you got to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Ready? 319. Yeah. All right, now.
What the?
Well, I did agree, so I guess now I have
Dude, he
to vote.
threw it like 10 feet.
I know.
It's like, we got it on the 7th take.
But that's impressive to them.
That was so lame. I mean, the throw itself was a lame throw. It was like a loft, very short.
Dude,
and like if they'd done it on a live stream and he threw it like 40 yards, maybe
Right,
something cool.
right. You want to make it like masculine. I saw that. You ever see that video of that woman who just whips the T-shirt all the way to the top of the stands from the football field, and everyone's like, "Dang, she's got an arm." Here you go. Here's
And
what is he doing? He's autographing a plate, and then he goes.
He's writing what he hates about Project 2025 on it, I think.
This is so.
He's probably getting paid and doesn't care and is just phoning it in.
Dictator Donald. Oh yeah, he doesn't know or care. But I think Seamus is right about this stuff. Like they're trying to market towards men, but this right here, it's literally targeting 38-year-old women.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That is something that like that is so embarrassing. If a woman does that, you're like, okay, she's pretty nuts. For a man to start throwing
she's
plates
pretty
at a wall?
emotionally intelligent.
Emotionally intelligent.
This is a mobile
right. I didn't know.
rage room.
I should be throwing plates at the wall, right?
No, this is a mobile rage room. Like, you guys have heard of this trend, but the people I know who book time at rage rooms are like girls who have gone through breakups.
Yes, it's not. Yeah.
I don't know any man who has asked to do that. They just would go like, I don't know what men do, but
You know what?
We
Back and
push
chop
it down really deep until we just have an aneurysm.
yes,
but thinking about this,
doesn't sound the healthiest, I will admit.
I
But
don't want to live past 40 anymore.
thinking about like the Ryan Long segment and the smashing the plates and all that stuff. You know, people say like, women are so emotional and like men aren't. I think it's actually just that young men are just beaten down. And so they're just kind of like, I don't care. You know, a guy doesn't want to go smash plates because a lot of guys have, not every single guy, but a lot of guys, they've been treated like crap when they were younger. This is how society treats young men. They don't get treated very well. So they're kind of calloused. They get older, bad things happen, and they say, it is what it is.
And I think we train young men not to throw plates. I mean, men are,
Yes, we should.
like, well, it's not that you should, but like men are taught earlier than women to be careful about how they show signs of aggression, right?
Yes.
And that standard is not true for women at all for the most part. And I think, that's not necessarily bad, but in this case, it looks misplaced because I don't know that a man looks at a man who's having this big emotional outburst and throwing plates as like a strong masculine man.
Exactly. And also, I will add, Anna Claire, I think you're being generous when you use the word aggression to describe what we just saw there. You grabbed a plate and went,
I mean,
and I'm supposed to go, wow, this appeals to me as a man. But it's really poetic, right? It perfectly represents the left right now because the reality is somebody made that plate. It was their job to make that plate. It's a useful thing. So we have a wimpy little man boy who just destroyed something useful over imaginary problems. That's what the Democratic Party is now.
And this is a couple weeks old, but it is interesting to think of like, so you guys are the destruction party. You're cool with the hurricane's destruction. You want to have destruction everywhere.
Yeah, you want controlled destruction, like a dude chopping wood for a purpose, not just burning trees down and like, and you want MMA fighters, you want to watch them take out their person. You want to see a musician crushing it and screaming like his guts out.
If Project 2025 happens, I will break all of the plates.
It needs to be a guy with a beard and bench pressing. That's what Harry Sisson needs.
What can you name one company that makes plates?
No, actually, I can't. Well, actually, I probably could because I think there's certain generic brands. Like, I assume Walmart makes plates because they have plates at Walmart. And they have, like, generic Walmart plates.
So Pyrex make plates, La Crusade makes plates.
Dixie right now is going like, we hope Trump.
We hope.
Yes.
All of these plates will smash.
Okay,
paper plates.
10 tableware brand. I can't.
Alabama.
I bet if we named these brands, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
What are some tableware?
All the plate manufacturing is done by 5 countries.
Well, you said Walmart's. Walmart's is like
companies.
Better Homes is one of their brands. Like I'd say La Crusade, you go to Pottery Barn and get them. I'm a girl, so apparently I know all this stuff.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be
Like,
surprised.
Okay, wait. I literally have no Gibson, Corel,
Corel is good.
Stone Lane.
If Stone Lane's funding these
Pfaltzgraff,
guys, what's it called?
Fable. Oh, Fable. We have those, don't we?
Fable plates.
Yeah, we actually. See, I don't know because I'm a man. What dishes are made of?
You don't look on the bottom
Where
of
they
them?
come from? I don't know.
Tim, do you ever get so mad at Project 2025 you throw your plate at the wall?
I could see these plate companies
so
funding this
steamed.
because they're like, this is going to increase
in the
demand.
regulated
We're just gonna
smash room.
take that plate.
in the safe, appropriated, designated spot. Like,
you know what we're gonna do? If Trump builds that wall, we're throwing plates at it.
You know what? It felt like
we're bringing all our plates to the border. We're bringing all our plates to the border.
You got to make it where Harry Sisson and who's the guy? What's that? Is it Chris Mowry? Is that who's hanging out with him?
No idea.
That's the thing. No one knows.
They start no one knows.
He's just Harry Sisson's friend, you know.
But here's the crazy thing. Do you think when like Harry Sisson hangs out with his friends, like what do they say to him about this stuff?
Dude, if that was my buddy, he would never live that down. First of all, he wouldn't be my buddy.
No,
if he was, he would never live that down.
Probably not
we
true.
would rip on him forever.
Yeah, nah, because he's buying the beers.
Exactly. They're probably
what is it? Bud Light?
Dude,
eating his ego.
I don't think so.
He's gonna like. I don't know how much money he gets paid. They claim they don't get paid for doing this stuff, but they do work for some agency or something like this. I bet dude gets paid a lot of money, and he goes and hangs out with the boys, and then they're gonna be like, haha, you're pro Kamala, and he's gonna be like, do you want the beer or not? Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Okay, get him a beer.
He goes to the bar, talks to girls, and he says, you see that guy breaking that plate?
I don't know. I kind of assume he's surrounded by people who are also like, yeah, I'd love to like have some influence and do what you're doing, right? So they probably just tell him positive things, even if they don't actually feel them themselves.
You know what my theory is? My theory is it's the exact same thing as that Dean guy. Like if you were able to go to this guy's personal, like 4 people group message, it would probably be the most deranged stuff you've ever seen. Like just slur after slur. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And it'll come out in like 10 years. It always does.
Yeah. And also, I actually don't think he's there to appeal to young voters at all. He's there to appeal to like Democratic boomers who will then open their wallets for whatever campaign he's the youthful face of.
Yeah, so this is something, and it happens on the left and the right. I'm seeing it more on the left right now, but there's a certain kind of content that is created for the express purpose of fooling older people into thinking younger people like it so that the older people will fund it. But it's really just for the older people who go, oh, look at this cool, look at the, you know, some wine mom's like, this cool young man who throws plates at walls. Young men like that or whatever.
Or how many views does he have?
The target. Like the target is actually the donor class. 100%. So if you could just fool them into thinking that the quote unquote target likes it, they'll give you money.
Because the young people don't have money. We know this. This is established facts in this economy. So, you know, while it's good to get their vote, I guess, really, you're not appealing to them if you're trying to cash in here.
So you guys know how like child stars end up going insane and getting crazy plastic surgery?
Yeah.
You think that'll happen to these guys?
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Serge made a joke, but he doesn't have a microphone.
I hope so.
I think he's
just
being
imagine
serious.
like, you know, remember those 2 doctors who got the 2 twin brothers who got the crazy surgery?
Oh gosh.
Just you don't know this one? What are those guys' names?
I always forget.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these influencers got top surgery, but I don't know about like, look, man, I'll put it this way. The reason a lot of the young people in Hollywood who are child actors end up doing stuff like that is just because they're horribly abused as children by these disgusting, perverted producers.
These guys, here we
past
go.
that age, they're...
Here you go.
Oh, yeah. I remember those guys.
Oh, my God.
I'm just imagining.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm imagining this is what Mowry and Sisson are going to look like when they're 30.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen to those guys. I feel like we've really lost masculine direction from like the year 2011 to 2019. I was saying this before. Same with God. It feels like we were detached from the spirituality as a species in that decade. And like Obama was our masculine leader, but it was like Michelle that wore the pants and that was cute in their relationship. And like obviously he's kind of a manly dude, but that was like, and then we had Rogan appear and like kind of was like the masculine driving, the real, true, aggressive masculine force of culture, sort of counterculture. And that was about it, man. I don't think I'm even talking like him. That was about it, man. Like that phrase, it, man, the way they say that came from Rogan's show. That's him and Brian Callen and sorry, the other guy, Brendan Schaub. Sorry, Brendan. But where was it? And now this is the result. These guys were 6 years old from age 16 to 6 to 16. They didn't have like strong male role models. They thought Joe Biden was it. They thought Obama was like it. And now this is the result. And then it's going to take another 10 years to teach people how to be masculine.
Well, mandatory basic training in high school. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Well, I'll add this. I mean, this kind of brings it back full circle to what we were saying with Tim Walz. I think part of the reason the left sees Tim Walz and they say this will remind people of their father or their uncle is because the last 40 years of media produced in this country has depicted fathers exclusively as dorky, bumbling, soft idiots. And so when someone acts kind of like a clumsy, goofy dude, the media goes, oh, that's just like what a father figure is. But your average American, like, does Tim Walz remind you of your dad?
No.
No, yeah. Is anyone here to see Tim Walz and go like, this reminds me of my dad? That would be one of the worst insults I could pay my father.
My parents told me not to go around.
Weird. Yeah, he's a
stay away from
guy.
old man Walt. He's a weird guy. We got to jump to this next story here. We got some breaking news from Axios. Scoop, some top Dems won't commit to certifying a Trump win. Now, we knew this because Raskin said this in February, that they're going to prepare for civil war conditions. I love this. He says they're preparing for civil war conditions. They would not allow Trump to win. If he does win, they're going to get together on January 6, 2025 and say Trump is ineligible. And then MSNBC has the nerve to say Trump's family is preparing for a civil war. Yeah, because Raskin went out and said they were. Here we go from Axios. House Democrats railed against Speaker Mike Johnson for hedging on whether a GOP-controlled House would certify a Kamala Harris victory. But some of their senior members are playing a similar game. Those Democrats are trapped between their deep distrust of Donald Trump and their vigorous denunciations of any election challenges in the year since January 6th. Trump is, quote, doing whatever he can to try and interfere with the process, whether we're talking about manipulating electoral college counts in Nebraska or in Georgia or imposing other kinds of implements, said Jamie Raskin. Now, the funny thing about Nebraska is they want to make the state winner take all, which would mean no more extra liberal jurisdiction Democrat elector vote. Democratic leaders, however, seemed fully prepared to certify a Trump victory, making potential dissenters a small minority. Okay, well, I will just say this, right? Raskin had previously said this, prepare for civil war conditions, but we were talking about this earlier. It seems like the Democrats are gearing up for a Donald Trump victory. It seems like the media, it seems like all of the institutions now. Look, a couple days ago, YouTube had us on the front page. But like default front page, not signed in on a private browser, meaning that this typically simulates a regular person, probably geolocated, don't get me wrong. So someone in this area goes to youtube.com and boom, Timcast IRL is on the front page. Everybody starts asking why it is. We're getting a bunch of subs. We're getting a bunch of viewers. Also, take a look at the analytics for a bunch of other conservative channels. Their views are jumping up. Something happened. Now, some people have said, well, the CEO passed away and they got a new CEO. Maybe. But looking at the messaging we're seeing across the board, it really does feel like everybody's basically like, Trump is going to win, and we need to get on his good side now.
They're certainly worried about it happening. Again, I'm not going to make any predictions here. It's possible for him to lose. I certainly hope that he doesn't. But a lot of the institutions have been behaving as if they are really hedging their bets here and preparing for him to win. We even saw, I think it was Cuomo who was talking about how he wanted to apologize to Trump for some things. It was really, really jarring. There was at least one thing where he said, I think it was after the assassination attempt.
Chris or Andrew?
It was the reporter.
Chris.
Yeah.
He's working with Valuetainment now.
Yeah, exactly. So you just see all these establishment people kind of starting to change their tune in certain respects, and you go, that's a little bit interesting. Maybe they do think he's going to win. But of course, look, the left always accuses you of the thing that they're doing. So it doesn't shock me that they're saying they wouldn't certify the election while clutching their pearls about Donald Trump potentially not conceding if he loses. And of course, we go back to 2016. Hillary Clinton insisted that she actually won that election, and the election was stolen. A majority of Democrats, according to polling data, believed that Russia literally hacked election machines and changed ballots. You even go all the way back to the year 2000, right? After that election, you had left-wing pundits on national television all across the country saying that George W. Bush lost that election and that Al Gore was really the president and George W. Bush was illegitimate. And so this idea that conservatives and Republicans are election deniers is just ridiculous, because there's been one election that has been called into question by conservatives and Republicans when Democrats have contested literally every single one that they have lost since the year 2000, and probably going even further back than that.
You're allowed to contest elections. You're allowed to deny them.
You should be allowed to.
That's
absolutely.
You have the legal right to say, I think this election was rigged. You're allowed to say that as a candidate after it happened.
Now it's tied to this, you're threatening democracy. I mean, I think it's interesting when you listen to current day news analysts talk about the election and reflect on the election of 2020. They always talk about how Donald Trump suggesting that there was any sort of issue with voting is a threat to democracy. He was threatening democracy. There's one podcast I listened to who is like, flat out, there's no denying it. That's a fact. And I find that interesting, because if you were concerned that your election wasn't secure, wouldn't the best thing you could do for democracy be to say, I have concerns, we have to take this seriously? People don't feel like their votes were accurately recorded. It is true that there has sort of been this subtle weaving of we can't trust elections if they don't come out the way we think they should into modern narrative. And I do think that there is a hypocrisy among Democrats where they are always okay with things that they do, but if conservatives were to do them, they didn't like them. The obvious ones are like the riots in 2020. Those seem totally reasonable. What happened at the Capitol, horrible, end of the world. I mean, this do as we say and not as we do has been around for a long time. I think what will be interesting to, like, the fact that Axios is reporting this is fascinating to me, because there would have been a time where this headline, like suggesting that maybe the Democrats are doing something they shouldn't, wouldn't exist at all. And I think that speaks to the fact that they actually do not like Kamala Harris that much.
Yeah.
I mean, she treated them really badly. She did not grant interviews for a long time. She wouldn't hold a press conference forever. She faked having her headphones in when she was walking past them. And so in some ways, she's done nothing to endear herself, to win any favors among news media who are looking at her and saying, you are making us look like liars, and now we don't know that we can financially recover from running a pro-DNC news cycle.
It's fair. Well, look, I mean, Tucker Carlson made this point when he was interviewing J.D. Vance, but the media can make a candidate do interviews if they decide to do that. The media can choose to talk nonstop about the fact that a candidate isn't giving interviews and allow the reputational damage to set in, and then the candidate will end up doing interviews. They can do that. They just haven't done that with Kamala. They've really worn kid gloves with her. Like, when she gets any pushback, you're a little concerned, like, do they think she's going to lose? Because they've really been doing everything they can to cover for her.
I thought that 60 Minutes was pretty incredible. I didn't see the whole interview. They interviewed Waltz and Kamala, and that guy was pretty hard on them. Like,
if I'm not mistaken, they changed one of her answers, though.
Yeah, they edited it.
Apparently more than
fact.
once.
It's weird.
And Trump's now calling for their broadcast license to be rescinded or whatever.
They should release the entire unedited interview.
Yes, but it's all fake news. And so if it is edited, why did they put out a bad interview and then change it later? Because people are saying the original clip that got sent out made her look really, really bad. So in the full length they put on TV, they changed it. And I'm like, the full length makes her look bad. Look at the betting odds. Her polls are down in swing states, and the betting odds are collapsing.
probably the White House went to what was it, CBS? Who owns that show, 60 Minutes? CBS? And was like, we're going to need you to, if you want to post anything, it's going to be edited.
And by the way, if anyone thinks that's far-fetched, we do know that the White House was communicating with Facebook about what information that they should. Facebook. Sorry, they're going to find out I'm secretly an Italian plant. Facebook.
It was the Kamala code switching.
Yeah, I was born. Thank a union member.
I don't know if I said probably
when
they
she
did,
went
but
Irish.
possibly.
That was the weirdest thing.
CBS has been the Biden administration's outlet
You saw
of
that, right?
choice.
I did see that.
The clip, Kamala Harris is talking to Colbert, and then all of a sudden she has like 10 seconds of going just Irish.
And she also became Latina or Latinx, I guess she would say. But there was an interview where someone in the audience goes, I love you. And she goes, oh, I love you back. I was like, did
she really?
Yes. Did you see that? It was a great. I'm like, this woman has so many different accents. She's very talented. Kamala, if you want a voice act for Freedom Tunes, I'd be happy to have you. Happy to have you.
I wonder if people,
she says yes,
like the big establishment money, like BlackRock money, international money that's been supporting this astroturf campaign of Kamala Harris, is like wondering if she's going to betray them. At this point, they're like, she's just not trustworthy at all.
Here's the thing. I cannot imagine anyone in politics seeing her as a threat on any level. Like, I think whoever her handlers are not worried about her being able to get one over on them.
Oh yeah, that's why they're happy with it. Although I think they've resigned to losing. I mean, look, one of the theories we've had for the past year is that they can't build up any kind of a campaign to beat Donald Trump. So they said, who can we sacrifice this time around? The Democrats have to have a nominee. There can't be no nominee. But they're like, Newsom? Nah, Newsom's not going to win, and we could maybe use him next time around. Buttigieg? Well, he definitely won't win, but he might be administration cabinet worthy. Who don't we care about at all? Who we can just say, fine, write off, and then try again in 4 years? Kamala.
If I'm not mistaken, they actually had a legal obligation to keep her as the candidate if they wanted to retain the campaign finance.
And even that is questionably legal.
Yeah.
Because they're using, apparently she's got her own FEC number. And Biden's got one, and she's begun using his despite having a different one. And there was a huge controversy. Apparently, no one cares about that. Biden can't give his money to Kamala. Look, let me put it this way: that whole thing pissed me off. Imagine if I said to you, dear viewer, "Hey guys, give me $10 a month at timcast.com, and I will keep working day and night, 16 hours a day, and weekends." Then you do. and I'd say, thank you for your money. Ian, you're in charge. Bye, everybody. You'd be like, what? That's what Biden did.
Exactly.
So there are people, I guarantee you, I don't know how many, but a lot of people who supported Joe Biden, and then when they announced Kamala was taking over and your money went to her, I'm sure they're pissed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So many people are. But I mean, at least in that case, there's kind of a gray area where legally you can say, well, that money was given to the Biden-Harris campaign and Harris was a part of that. But if you try to switch those funds over to Gavin Newsom, now you're dealing with a completely different argument, a completely different situation, and it's probably an argument you can't make. So I do think they were stuck with Kamala because of that.
I would think that they would have to use, like, what is it, the 25th Amendment, to have Biden removed from office in order to keep the money for that office, that campaign. Maybe that wouldn't even work. I don't know.
Which is so funny because, like, they have effectively done that, right? We have a de facto 25th Amendment situation where everyone knows he's not in charge and hasn't been since long before he stepped out of the campaign, but the media just covers for them.
I was talking to my mother about this, who's pretty open-minded, and I was like explaining to Kamala Harris. I was like, they didn't have a primary. She's like, well, no, I mean, I think they did. And I was like, no, they didn't actually. They just selected Kamala Harris. She's like, oh. I was like, I think what maybe had happened, conspiracy theory, is that they waited until it was too late in the process to have a primary, and then they made the guy resign, and we're like, hey, we have no other choice. She was like, that's very smart of them. I was like, yes, and very evil. Very highly intelligently evil, if that's what they did, bypassing the democratic process and threatening democracy. So we got
threatening democracy.
Literally massive threat to democracy to install a candidate. In fact, the Democratic Party's super candidates is a threat to democracy. It strips the people's ability to choose their candidate.
What if we just chose who the president would be by NASCAR?
Yeah, there you go.
Problem solved, right?
Honestly, that'd be pretty cool. Whoever the president, the candidate has to sponsor a race car, and then if your race car wins, you become the president.
But it's got to be by points at the end of the season.
Yes.
So like from
I'll just do one race.
End of 2023 throughout. When does the season start?
February.
And it ends
around October. Yeah.
Perfect. Look at that.
Oh, because then someone would get 8,000 points the night of the election.
Does that happen in NASCAR?
8,000 hell in NASCAR points.
Yeah, Kamala's car wins 10 races at 3 a.m. What races were those?
You don't have to listen.
The results are in.
Do you see a lot of like? I've seen pictures of some NASCAR races where the crowds are holding like Trump flags and stuff. Does it feel political or not really?
Not really. I think that's more of a stands thing. When you're in the infield, I mean, they're really strict. You know, they don't want any messaging and anything like that to be involved. And I think it's more because they don't want to be involved, regardless of if it's left or right.
But that's where Let's Go Brandon was born.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Which ruined that poor guy's career.
Did it really?
Brandon Brown, yeah, he was done. I think he was gone after a year after that.
Is he still, really? He's done racing?
Because of that?
No one would, get behind him and support him or try to sponsor him. And he kind of went all in with the Let's Go Brandon thing.
That was a strategic error on his point, but it was a strategic error. But also, that guy got dealt a bad hand. That does
no. He should have asked Trump to sponsor him.
Yeah.
That would have been.
Maybe he tried and didn't work. But if I was him, I would go like, hey, look.
So it was like, I like racers who win.
Nobody wants to sponsor Let's Go Brandon, and because of that, it's bad for my career. Trump sponsor the Let's Go Brandon car. Trump would have done it.
Yeah,
unless he asked and I'm wrong.
Trump's not
and Trump
affiliated with his businesses right now, and so his campaign can't fund a car.
That's true, right? And
Trump
they don't.
Jr. would have done it, right?
And they definitely don't allow. Like if it said Trump anywhere on it, they wouldn't allow it.
No, but they'd sponsor Let's Go Brandon, so the message is there on the track every day with people cheering Let's Go Brandon.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there was. He actually, I think he was supported by the Let's Go Brandon coin. There was a crypto coin for a while, and NASCAR wouldn't even approve that.
Well, I mean, that crypto stuff is silly.
But they didn't want Let's Go Brandon.
They didn't want anything. Yeah, they didn't want to be involved in it at all. I guess for good reason, just controversy and whatnot.
So he's like not racing anymore?
No, I'm pretty sure he's done.
Wow, that's kind of sad.
That does feel.
I feel.
I blame Joe Biden.
I blame this. Joe Biden has destroyed Joe Biden's taken a job from another American.
Yet another victim.
I think when you're doing like arts and entertainment or athletics in general, the way you want to instill your political endeavors is to get things done through it, not through getting a candidate, not about the people. It's about what needs to be changed in society. Let's write a song about that. Or let's talk about that on my show as I'm a hot athlete in the off season or whatever. But if you get too talking about too fetishy about individuals, it gets really like poison pill especially for the big money. They don't want to get tied into a guy. But movements about end the Vietnam War. That was great. a lot of people could get on board with that, but they weren't like singing about how great Nixon was or how great JFK was or any of that stuff.
Right.
Maybe they should have been.
I don't know though. I don't know because like Buffalo
People have
Springfield,
written Donald Trump songs, you know, and like
Eminem did,
FJB
and they're kind of.
Did he really?
No, Placeboing made an edit of Eminem where it sounds like he's doing a pro-Trump song.
No, I thought you were saying anti-Trump.
No, well, Eminem did do an anti-Trump thing.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But
like,
Placeboing made it a pro-Trump one.
Like you'd want to make a song about like ending or making your interest on your student loans tax deductible. Have that in your song as opposed to singing about Donald Trump. And that's how you'll get all of society to get on board with the movement that Donald Trump is sort of part of.
I bet if we made a Timcast song that was just like Donald Trump bump, bump, for like 5 minutes, it would like top #1 on iTunes.
For a minute though. But we could make a long lasting one that sings about fixing the ills of society.
Everyone just says Donald Trump, like that's all the lyrics. But then you have like a rap feature where he starts rapping the name Donald Trump over and over again. Like,
you know what I'll do? Like we have so many high profile people that come and go. Just like ask them to say Donald Trump's name and then create a song where it's just every high profile personality saying Donald Trump. It'll be the #1 song in the world
for like a week.
Yeah,
but you want to do a song that's the #1 song in the world for like 10 years. Like that people remember that's like, this is how we fix the economy. That's what this song was about.
We need to make the Macarena the 2020s, and it's just going to be Donald Trump. It's just going to...
No.
I mean Macarena kind of is pro-Kamala.
There we go.
Yeah.
Or Mambo #5. Remember that one?
No.
Yeah. Or the Cha-Cha Slide. Was that what it was called?
Mambo
the Cha-Cha Slide?
#5.
Left. Take it back now, yo. That's the one.
Yeah.
Cha-Cha Slide, yeah.
Don't go left. Take it back.
Oh my gosh.
I think the question is, do you want to make something that is art and has a value behind it, or are you more interested in like political messaging through a medium that is often used for art? I mean, this is something that like we've talked about with Tom McDonald. Like he'll make these songs that are about Trump or whatever, and it's not that they're not good and that people aren't entertained by them, but you know, it's definitely more about politics than about necessarily other things, like a creative display as an artist. It's about the political messaging. And that's what you want to do. It's totally fine, but it's just different. I think that there is this political fatigue in America. Well, you'll see some people are into that stuff and some people will just pull farther away.
Politics is pop culture. It's been that way for what, like 10 years?
I don't agree
Longer.
anymore. It's true. It was from like 2016 to 19 but it's not popular. It's unpop culture. It's like disgusting refuse culture, but it is popular, but it's not loved.
Politics is pop culture. It doesn't mean
it's like infamy. It's not like it's like disliked. It's popular, but it's disliked, and that's why it's popular.
And this may be true since Obama, but no, I disagree. It's the people hate Donald Trump, but the Democrats love Kamala Harris. They love whoever their cult leader is. Right?
I don't think that's real love. They might be
It's pop culture, bro.
Manic,
It's pop culture is the TV telling. Look at Colbert. Colbert opens his show. Like when they put Colbert in that position on the Late Show. What's the show called? I don't even know the show. They're all late something show. When they put Colbert on it, Colbert was a political commentator, satirical comedian. And when they announced that Late Night was going to have him hosting, I was kind of like, really? Because he does politics. And then he started doing his opening monologues are all the Colbert politics. They intentionally made pop culture politics. Or they chased after this for whatever reason. But it is true. You take a look at this, like songs that bubble up, independent music that really hits the top of the charts. You'll see like Bryson Gray will make a song, FJB or whatever, and then boom, #1 sales popping up on the Billboard Hot 100. They're desperately trying to keep that stuff away, but they can't pop. It is what it is, whether you like it or not.
I think this new Timcast music song that's coming out is going to be a pop hit.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good. Have
like
you played that live yet, or is that going to just wait till it launches?
No one's ever heard it.
Do people even know the name?
That song's actually been done for a year.
I know, it is good. I listened to it like 10 times the other night.
Ian's a big fan.
It's Ian Crossland, Tim Pool, Carter Banks. Out of the park on that one.
We know what we could do with that with this song that's coming out. It's the lyrics are first person. It's written from the perspective of someone who wants to rule the world, basically. And so we could make the music video. We're working on a music video that's fun and silly. We could just make it a music video where Kamala Harris is going around just like abusing people.
It's wonderful because it's apolitical, but it has that meaning of like obsessive oligarchs. Like it's someone that wants to own the world through power.
That's what it's. Yeah. And the lyrics are first person, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
It's kind of like a
Wouldn't it be
fortunate
funny?
son. I'm not a fortunate son. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Like Creedence Clearwater Revival. Like they didn't mention politicians by name, but you knew who they were talking about.
Yeah.
But it would be funny if like the music video was Kamala Harris walking around and she like steals a homeless guy's cup of change and then like, you know, kicks over his sign. And then she like grabs a coffee from somebody and then just like drinks it and throws it on the ground and looks at him. And like if the whole music video was just her doing whatever
Just
she
her
wanted.
walking down the street, like, yeah, bullying people.
Right. That's but
That would,
anyway,
like, actually kind of make me like her
That's
more,
the song.
honestly.
If you, okay, the song we're putting out that we're hoping to have released by Halloween is basically imagine Kamala Harris walking down the street and just like she grabs there's like a busker playing guitar. She grabs the guitar and smashes it and throws it in the garbage. Then
It's a great music video, but it has to be one shot. The video is
Right.
one shot, and the camera's just following her as she walks through town and just bullies everyone she sees.
It's such
that is what the song is. So like the lyrics
obsessive
are basically
narcissism
that.
is like that song's about. It's great.
That's super funny, dude.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to Super Chat. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, you got to give us 5 stars or however many stars you can give us. Give us 10 if they let you, because it really does help. It does. Apparently, that's how it works. The more stars you have, the more they bump you up and recommend you to other people. And oh boy, they don't want to recommend us.
No.
I don't want to say too much, but my understanding is basically if you're like Daily Wire or Crowder or, you know, any right-wing podcast, you're basically just never getting anywhere. Good luck. All right, we'll grab some super chats from you, though, my friends. And also become a member at timcast.com because we're going to have a members-only uncensored show, which will be a hoot and a half. We're going to give you that extra half tonight.
But not a holler.
Because we love you.
He won't do a hoot and a holler, but he will do a hoot and a half. You can do that tonight.
And then we can tell you about our shenanigans. Seamus and I are engaged in shenanigans. It is really funny. I don't want to say it on the main show.
It's kind of funny.
It's
what we
really
did.
funny.
We were emotionally intelligent enough to come up with a really good joke.
Yeah, on some woke leftists.
Yeah.
And it's happening. But you'll have to be a member because we're going to keep this one on the members show. So go to timcast.com right now. Click join us. Because we do need your support to basically run the operation, but then Seamus and I can spill the beans on. I think we might get in trouble in some way if people find out. You know, we'll see.
I almost want to see if it just bubbles up on its own. I want to see. Let's
talk about the members only because you know we're trying. It's funny. You're gonna love it. All right. Anyway, let's grab some super chats. SD says because cool coffee hangouts cost money. Well, we are working on it, and we are really, really close to the finalization for national expansion of Casper locations. I know our location basically is paralyzed. We're trying to get the flooring put in the first floor. It's just like, yeah, it's brutal. So we can't do the election event. I can't say anything just yet about what our plans are, so nobody say anything. But we are going to have big plans for our election coverage, but we can't do the event like we wanted to. We wanted to get a venue, then we couldn't. Then we were like, we'll use our own. Now we can't. And so I'm just like, man. But it's okay because we have contingencies upon contingencies to bring you a great show. Our plan for Election Day is to be live from about 5 p.m. until 2 a.m. or longer. And probably we're going to be live extended in the next day as well because we ain't going to get results on Election Day. We are going to be cowering in fear with our emergency food buckets and piles of gold in cobble pots.
Exactly.
All right. Here we go. Let's see. We'll grab some more super chats. Vexcoon says, ironic that they tried to get young voters with WoW when the average WoW player is 30 plus. And this is coming from someone that still plays WoW. Yeah, dude. Bro. Vanilla WoW was the greatest game ever made. Just hands down. When they released Burning Crusade, it lost its luster, and I slowly stopped playing it. And then you could see it. There was something about the difficulty in finding groups, the websites required. So they have a dungeon. It's a dungeon, you're going to do a raid, and you need 40 people to do it. It's not easy. And so you have to find groups of friends. And so they kept trying to do this thing where they're like, let's make it easier for regular people who are joining the game to play. What did that do? It made it so they had this auto queue thing where you're like, queue me up. And then you'd randomly join a group. The group would be like, you don't know how to play. You suck. And you're bringing us down. I don't want to do this. So they made the dungeons easier. The game is stupid now. I don't play it.
It was a living, breathing world in vanilla.
I know.
You know, you had to go around. You would actually have to run to an instance, and everybody ran there together, and you met up.
It was so much fun.
It was like its own living world that you could get lost in. And then when they started queuing it up, I mean, I remember going through the old world, and there was no one in it because everybody was just queuing and dollar ran around.
Oh yeah. You in the original game, you're in Stormwind, right? If you're playing Alliance, and it's like, hey, we're going to do VC, and then you're like, I've got to run to Windfall. And so it literally took you like 10 minutes of just having your character run all the way there into the cave, fighting through the cave to get to the dungeon. And Van Cleef was what they called the dungeon. It was it Undermines? I think it was called or something.
The Dead Mines, yeah.
The Dead Mines. There you go. There you go.
You can play those again now in the new expansion.
Yeah, but it's not the
Time
same.
Warp. No,
it's not the same.
It's never been the
It's
same.
stupid. They've ruined it.
And
then they
Warlocks used to be awesome because they could teleport their party members. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm 38. So if you're talking about World of Warcraft, you are talking to middle-aged people,
What
I
was
guess.
the super chat? I should have stuck around for that one. I had to urinate, though.
That they're trying to get young voters with World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They're trying to get working class people with Miller High Life. Like, it's just it's such an embarrassing. I mentioned
it's better than Bud Light.
Well, it's just they're so misguided. Okay, so Trump got shot and then stood back up, and they think they're going to convince us that Tim Walz is the manly candidate because he pointed at an air filter. Like, it's so embarrassing.
All right. Daniel Halpin says, does Seamus know the patron saint of spoons is Saint Pantaleon?
I did not know that. I don't know why that would be relevant to me.
And you do know what Saint Timothy is the patron saint of, right?
Stomach aches, right? Digestion issues.
Gastrointestinal distress.
Yep.
Saint Pantaleon.
There really is a saint for everything. Wow.
There is, yeah.
And so you're supposed to pray to Saint Timothy when you're having stomach problems or you're stuck on a toilet.
Who's the saint of music?
It's a good question.
Seamus, you should know these things.
I should know every patron. Dude, there's so many.
should know
I feel
every
like there'll be
patron
one for
saint.
like
So many saints, man. There's so many
There'll
saints.
be one for like music, one for musical performance, one for the creator of instruments. Like they just dole them out.
I think Saint Genesius is performing. Let me look up. Wow.
All right, let me read this one. We got Christopher Shipley. He says, Maryland ballots are being tampered with. My wife is a Dem, received hers today. I'm a Republican and didn't. I checked and I'm not registered. I have been for years and even voted in local and primaries this year. We are for Trump. Wow, interesting. Creepy. All right. Donnie Rocket says, Tim, please, you are the greatest and I love you. You are always the best and I will be a fan forever. Just kidding. He said, Tim, please shut up on this for the 1,000th time.
On what?
See, Donnie, when you super chat, I can make you say whatever I want. No, just kidding. I'll read your super chat. He told me to shut up.
Shut up on what?
Well, the ballot thing.
What thing?
When I said ballot should be blank.
Oh, you've been saying it a lot.
No, I respect the how much did he send? Was it $2?
Interesting philosophy.
I respect the super chat, the $1.99 you sent, which means I think it means iPhone.
But also the reason I think you keep bringing it up is because you know it's not quite perfect, but it's a good thing to craft.
Also, here's a secret. Most people don't know. If it says $4.99 in your super chat, you're on an iPhone. If it's a 00, you're on an Android.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is, right? iPhone is 99. Yep. It defaults to 99, and they do that intentionally so they can track what devices people are using. Creepy, right?
Yeah, doesn't that knock you out from your letter count too? You got to get over $5 to get like 200 letters.
It counts it as
cool.
Yeah. Dex and Dice LLC says, turn 1 basic land soul ring arcane signet. What do you want to play next? Side note. If Kamala wins, don't think my shop can endure 4 more years of this. Enjoy the super chats and membership while you can, good sir. Spoon, haha.
I want to play my Mana Vault after that, but also you should ban Soul Ring.
Nope. So they banned Jeweled Lotus, and I'm still using it, and it doesn't. All it does is make. I've got wacky commanders that are too big to play, and with Jeweled Lotus, you can actually play them in a meaningful way, but they still lose. So get out of here.
Maybe if it's just Soul Ring, you don't need to ban it.
All right. Well, it is. Here we go. Andy Babandi says, please pray for my badass fiance. Just got back from an ultrasound appointment, and turns out our first pregnancy is going to put us over replacement rate. She's having triplets.
Dude.
Wow.
God bless
amazing.
all and keep up the great work. Wow. Bravo. Good sir.
I'm wondering if there's something about us needing to increase our birth rate that people are just having more twins now. It's like divinity or something.
Matt
Well,
Walsh has
twins-
2 sets of twins.
Wow.
And I don't know if this is true for him, but twins increased in America when more people started using fertility treatments. But this seems like it might be spontaneous naturally occurring, which is amazing. That's the best way to launch yourself over the replacement waste. Just do it all at once.
And it's the man, right? When there's twins or triplets or quadruplets, like the guy just means you're a really manly guy.
Triplets, it might be she released an egg and one of the eggs also split.
Nope, the man. You're a man. Yeah, men.
I think older women might have higher rate of twins and triplets because it's like, well, if you're going to do it, now's the time. Just have them all now, so you don't have to do it.
Yeah, the body
older.
releases more eggs later.
Is that really what it does?
Yeah.
Wow. So older women have twins.
It's common for higher rates of twins among older, like gestating women.
Interesting.
But, you know, in this case, I don't know if you're 20 years old and spontaneously had triplets. Like, that's crazy.
All right. Swift Titan says, Trump came to Detroit and I was working in the other room surprised that he was here. Unfortunately, I couldn't see because of tight security. And of course, my coworkers were talking about doing stuff to him. Whoa, that's creepy, dude. Creepy. Ben Hickson says, U.S. would be better with preferential, is that what it says, preferential voting system? Australia is expecting more independent parties like the Libertarian Party to be voted in to break up our two-party system. I don't know. There's a lot to break down. David Toronto says, the South is less racist. We are just more intolerant of stupidity. Guy from Boston came here and was more racist and didn't think we had paved roads. Well, then. What have we here? Robert Steinhauer says, perhaps in order to vote, you need to pass the same test that immigrants have to pass in order to move here. Much love, panel. You guys do a great job all the time. YouTube needs more than 200 characters. Indeed, sir. Bryce Monty says, as a current WoW player, the majority of players are Trump supporters. That is true. They had to ban people using names like Trump, Trump Daddy, MAGA 2024, because like everybody was just trying to do it.
I was campaigning for Obama hard in 2007 on Warcraft. I'd go into the trade channel and be like, vote Obama 2008. He's awesome. He cares about communication.
Dude, the
bring us together.
I got to tell you, man, OG WoW was so crazy. So they had an auction house, right? And the way it works for those that don't know World of Warcraft is if you want to, there was an enchantment for weapons. Okay, you have a sword. Someone who could train their character to cast enchantments on weapons would get something called fiery weapon enchantment, or whatever it was called. So we just called it fiery. Everybody wanted it. You needed a resource in order to give someone a fiery weapon. So those resources, I believe that was small radiant shards in the auction house. My brother would buy all of them up and then relist all of them for 1 gold more. And anytime anybody would list one of them, he'd buy it and relist it, creating a monopoly.
He and I are so alike.
And just eventually the prices got ridiculous. And people were like, we can't afford to buy these anymore. Like, what do we do? Because he was just like, I keep buying them and selling them, but people want it so bad, they keep giving me money. Yep. One of the funny things people used to do in the game is they'd have one guy has a really crappy item that's not soulbound. Their buddy posts in the trade chat willing to buy crappy item for, slightly above market rate. Then a second later, someone would say willing to sell for a slightly below market rate. So somebody would be like, whoa, if are slightly, at market rate. This guy would be like, if I buy that, I can resell it right away for, 10 more gold. He'd buy it from the one guy. Then the other guy would go, no, thanks. I got one already. So the guy would end up buying it. And that's how they trick people into buying things. Wow. That game was wild. And then they ruined it. Well, Chinese bots came in and started mining gold and flooding the market, and then all other sorts of problems came in. Yeah. Let's talk about real things and not World of Warcraft and Magic the Gathering. How about that?
Hard in Warcraft tonight.
Joshua Kemble says, on the blank paper ballot thing, it's not about your academic level, it's about how well you are informed. There are ways to make sure you spell the names right if you care enough. That's right. I like the jingle idea.
I'm telling you, a whole new era of political messaging in this country. The jingle, bring it back.
For the best person in the Republican Party, vote VIVEKRAMASWAMY. I spell it right.
Got to workshop that one a little bit, but.
Or he just changes his name to like Bill.
Yeah, exactly. All of our presidents for the next 200 years will just be like Josh.
But then will they be like, if you change your name, will they be like, you're dishonest? Like you aren't being true to who you are.
Not true. That's hilarious.
Garrett Lancaster says, the Walt Harris stunt with Warcraft was definitely because Blizzard is one of the wokiest of woke companies. And that's why their game has completely collapsed. I was reading something recently. They claim to have like a large user base, and people were posting that the servers are always empty. Nobody's really playing all that often. It's definitely not like it used to be. But how are they claiming to have all of these players in the game?
We have a lot of servers. I know that. A lot more than they used to.
I think the last one I played was Legion. When was that? A decade ago or something? 8 years ago?
Maybe, yeah. I played Draenor. Was it
Warlords of Draenor?
Yeah, that was
I
the
tried
last
playing
time.
that and just walked away. That was 10 years
It
ago.
got really grindy. I just go to that barracks and just keep sending my dudes out on daily quests. I was like, it feels like a job and I'm not getting paid.
But you know what? You know what is still based is Alterac Valley.
Yeah, battlegrounds are legit.
Alterac
PvP
Valley
awesome in
has
that game.
always still been awesome. And it was funny because I didn't play it's like for 15 years, and then I went to Alterac Valley as a rogue, and you can still stealth cap the flags over and over again using the same strategies because people are dumb and don't learn.
I think the action is still fun in that it's hard. You've got to watch where you're stepping, so you're constantly moving, and you got to pay attention. At least as a healer, it's really fun. I play with a druidic healer, and you got to bounce around. You got to constantly be healing everywhere. You're like lots of attention to detail, super fast paced. It's just the community aspect of it's been stripped because of the way they've simplified, that aspect of it.
All right. Conejito de la Muerte says, at the risk of making Ian explode, did you see that a white paper was released in August demonstrating a low-cost method of recycling microplastics into graphene?
No, I didn't, but tag me in that on Twitter. That's cool.
See, Ian's a poser.
You might be. That might be.
You didn't know that about graphene.
That might be.
You like graphene, Ian? Name 3 ways to synthesize graphene.
Flash Joule heating, chemical vapor deposition, and Scotch tape off of graphite.
I got him!
I just named 3.
You did
Scotch
name 3.
tape,
off
dude.
of graphite.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's how they discovered it. They pulled Scotch tape off of graphite. They're like, "What is this shape?"
Listen, he's
What
a
is
real
this
graphene fan. You can't take that. He's a graphene fan.
The first 2 were actually impressive.
I think
I don't know what you said.
It's flash Joule heating, which is probably what he's talking about, where you put carbon in a tube and then you hit it with 7,000 degree electricity. You pulse it at 0.1 milliseconds, and then it turns it into black powder graphene, which you can make cars out of. I'd like to see you racing a graphene car at some point. Lightweight and strong.
All right, let's go. Korwag says, Michigander troll here. Whitmer has not been a good governor since 2019. Also, that video makes it look like she is jealous of Bill Clinton and his secretary. Finally, an unpopular opinion is Schneider was better even with Flint. Wow. Indeed. I went to Flint. Here's a story for you. And I collected water samples from a local house, from a local restaurant, from the river itself. And I collected multiple samples of each. And at the river, several different points. And I had this idea when I was working at Fusion. I was like, hey, here's what we can do. Let's use a mass spectrometer to break down what's in the water and explain to people what the problem is. And guess what we found? Nothing. In all of the different samples, we found nothing. And they were like, this clearly must be a mistake. And I was like, we went to NYU. I gave them 30 samples of water. And then they were like, we'll run them through the mass spectrometer and we'll give you back everything that's in the water. And no lead. Nothing.
What did that make you believe after that?
I don't know. And I asked them, do we report that we did this and found nothing? And they were like, well, because everybody had been reporting that there was lead and other, contaminants in the water, the concern was that we did something wrong. So we would need to confirm this. And I was like, I went to 3 houses. I went to 2 restaurants. I went to the river itself and collected water from different points at the river. I don't know what else you do. And we found nothing.
Someone was talking about that with pipes.
I think it was high selenium or something. I'll tell you this, though. I went home to Miami, and we found a ton of uranium in our water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are there uranium mines down there?
No, it's from fertilizer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was crazy.
I wonder if a lot of the Flint lead was coming out of pipes and not the...
That's why I went to a couple houses. Yeah. And people were like, well, you probably went to houses that weren't affected. And I was like, perhaps. But these were not well-off houses. I forgot how I did. I knocked on a door. I think I went knocking on doors and saying that I'm a journalist working on a story about the water crisis in Flint. We're looking to collect water samples, and people let me in their houses, and they were not good houses.
Somebody messaged me about lead, and they were like, actually, lead pipes are safe, and they don't leach lead into the water. I haven't confirmed that data.
I don't know about
it's
that.
Interesting. They're like, it's only if they get aggravated or scraped or something, but maybe. I'm not sure.
Lead or microplastics, which is worse?
All right, VCC Board Repair says, bought some Cast Brew coffee on 8:30, but have not received it. My package appears to be lost. Cast Brew support seems to be no help. MISOL. I don't know. Usually we have a crack team that takes care of everything, and usually it's something like an email got lost or whatever, or got mixed up in junk or something. So check your junk folders, and then I'll talk with my team about VCC Board Repairs to make sure you get your coffee.
Yeah, what'd you get?
It's your coffee. You deserve it now.
I was drinking some Appalachian Nights earlier and Graphene Dream earlier than that. Good stuff.
Based.
Get it. It's really good. Have you had it yet, Seamus?
I haven't had Graphene Dream. I've had I've had a couple different flavors. I don't even. I usually have the one that's most common that you guys have.
We're working on the Seamus blend, and we're going with either
Irish coffee,
Whiskey Dream, Whiskey Nights. We're thinking.
You drink whiskey?
Whiskey in the mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all the different. So we're getting eclectic with it to give a bunch of varieties. But then we've got whiskey light, whiskey dark, whiskey medium.
What if it's Irish coffee and it's just Seamus with like the clover hat on?
Oh, that is a good idea.
It's offensive.
Whiskey clover.
Coffee, and it's just delicious.
It's offensive to my people.
A rich Irish blend.
Bro, Irish people make good whiskey. What are you talking about? Bill Lemon says, question for Cody. I was a diehard NASCAR fan until the Bubba Wallace garage incident. Sad because I became a fan of his when he was up and coming. How has it been for drivers since the league went woke?
It's not represented anywhere. Everything's really laid back and chill, and no one really talks about anything as far as like, I guess you would say DEI or there's no one's forcing anything on anybody. You just show up and you run your race, and it's really something you don't notice. Now, granted, look, I'm in the ARCA Menard series, and maybe it's not prevalent there, but you don't really hear much. All you really hear is like the super chat says, people will ask me about like the Bubba Wallace thing. And that's it. And you don't really hear much about anything else.
Can you explain the difference between the series for me? I'm ignorant on
Yeah, so there's the Cup series, there's the Xfinity series, which is basically like the one right below it, and then the Truck series, and then the ARCA Menard series. So there's the 4 national touring series, and basically you get approved for full license for all of them, and you can jump in and out of cars and do whatever. It's just basically it's how much money you have, how much backing you have, how much experience you have.
How much do you need for the big league?
Oh gosh, I couldn't. $60 million a year probably.
Whoa!
Wow.
Something, and that's to be in like a midfield thing,
Who's number one right now?
Oh, if I had to really pick a person, it'd be Kyle Larson.
So what do you think his budget is?
Oh, it's up there. Yeah,
200 million.
It's something insane. I mean, he's ran an Indy car, and there's talks of him going out trying Formula One and all kinds of stuff.
Or like the top 3, like just eclipse like 50 times, twice as much as the bottom number 4, 5, and 6 are like these.
With the Cup Series, you have the money's probably a little bit closer with all the teams, but when you get down to like the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, they're still kind of grassroots. There's some people that are.
You do the truck too?
I'm approved for the trucks as well. I had plans to do 2 truck races this year. Next year I have plans to do way more. But yeah, it's all about funding, and there's disparity. I mean, there's people that show up in our series with they almost no funding. They're showing up in an old truck, and they have an old trailer, and they roll their old car out and just start and park it.
Wow.
They just start it and they park it and get out of it just so they can get like to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then you have, the teams in the exact same series spending $10-20 million. And of course, dominating. So there is a big, money disparity, but there is still a big grassroots element to all these series.
So there's no like salary cap type thing. Like you can't spend more than X because you're going to get the most high tech car that's going to.
Not that I know of. I'm pretty sure they spend. I mean, Hendricks Motorsports talks about how they don't make money. They just spend all the money they can and just to be successul, and they don't bring any profit or something like that. And a lot of these teams, I feel like they probably do that, especially teams that are engineered only to bring up and coming like drivers, right? So there's a lot of the teams in our series are specifically there to, put young teenagers in to get them ready to go to the next level, and that's the only reason they're there. So then you have the old guys like me. I'm basically prehistoric when it comes to like
because of your
NASCAR age. Yeah, I'm 34.
Oh, wow.
When do people normally start driving?
Well, in the 90s, you would hear about like Earnhardt and all these guys starting in their mid 30s. Like they would Clint Boyer, they'd come in their maximum late 20s, early 30s, and now it's that these kids are starting at 4 years old. They're in go-karts. They're at 12 years old. They're in big late models. It's 15, 16. They're running in our series. Truck series, stuff like that.
At 15 in your series? That seems crazy.
But you have to be 18 to do speedways, so fast stuff.
So what's like the basic skill requirement? Like what are your fundamentals in driving to be in the top?
To have absolutely, I don't know if it's being dumb is one of them. Like you have to be kind of dumb because you have to have absolutely no self-preservation. You just have to, when you're going into a corner at 190 at Michigan, you have zero fear. You just throw it in there. And there's people that will, they'll be using brakes and whatnot at tracks like this where you don't. You're just full throttle almost the entire time.
Ooh, just pedal the metal?
Yeah. And I used to have this idea that you could really go all out for a couple laps and then reel it in. And it's not like that. You have to be all out on the edge of control, almost wrecking every single lap to be fast.
Oh, man.
And it's stressful, man. We were at Michigan. And I was worn out, man. And we tapped the wall, and like the firewall somehow got separated slightly, and CO2 was leaking into the cabin.
Whoa!
And at the end of the race, I just pulled into the pits. I barely remember any of it, and I just fell out of the car, and an ambulance came and got me. And I was on oxygen for 2 hours.
Wow,
that's wild.
It was it was brutal, and these are things you have to go through, and you eventually get used to it. But you have to really maintain hydration. You have to really keep those things up, and you have to focus on those kind of things. Because if you get in that car without that kind of stuff, you will be passing out.
You have like a head thing where you're drinking water while you're driving, and then you say core strength is another part of it.
Yeah, core strength. I mean, you're barely moving your ankles, but core strength. Because when you go into corners at places like Dover, I mean, your neck will start hurting after 5 laps, and then you have 250 more.
Is that because you're like resisting the G-forces and trying to hold? Wow.
And there's some you'll get in some seats, man, where there's just an inch gap, and that inch gap ruins everything. Because you can't lean your head on. You're having to keep your head up. It's just brutal.
Oh, so you want it kind of tight on your head so your head.
You want it to where it doesn't move at all. Because otherwise you're counterbalancing and you start noticing it. And as soon as you start noticing any uncomfortableness, you're suffering. You're slowing down.
Wow. All right, everybody, we're going to go to that members-only show. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be epic because Seamus and I are engaged in some shenanigans.
We're having fun. Two of us.
Shenanigans. So smash the like button and subscribe. Share the show. Go to timcast.com. Click Join Us if you want to hang out for that members-only show. And leave us a good review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may be getting your podcast from. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. If you're watching on X, click retweet or whatever. Cody, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Camelot 331. I've been uploading there for about 5 years now, streaming a few times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday around 8:30 p.m. Just having a good time. I had a podcast that I had to put on hold because racing full time, there was just no way I could get guests and whatnot, and try to keep it all together. But that's my YouTube channel, and I also have my Twitter account, Camelcast Off, which is the fourth one, I think. I guess I make it a habit of getting banned for really dumb reasons. I quote tweeted an article randomly and made the exact same joke that the article made and got permabanned.
Before Elon bought it or after?
It was right before. And I'm like tagging Elon, please, Elon, you don't understand. And this is my big follower account, and I just had to restart over and over and over, so I have to just continue to try to build a following on Twitter. So that's my Twitter, Camelcast Off.
Like to see Elon merge those accounts.
Yeah.
Seamus, what's up?
Everybody, my name is Seamus Coughlin. I do Freedom Tunes. If you guys like what I do, all right, if you like what I have to say here, check out some of my cartoons. Go over to Freedom Tunes. We're uploading a cartoon tomorrow just about the disaster of these last couple hurricanes and how horribly Kamala has treated people, how terrible the response has been. And so we rip on her for that. Go over to Freedom Tunes, subscribe. That'll be up tomorrow. And if you like what we're doing, you like the animation, you like that we're building culture instead of just talking about politics, we're really trying to create media, then go to freedomtunes.com, become a member. We have about over 50, I think we're approaching 100 cartoons that are just behind the paywall, just for members. You'll get access to those. You'll get access to our weekly podcast on how we make the cartoons, and you will also be supporting the show. You might even be able to get a character yourself drawn if you're donating at a high enough level. So thank you so much.
And I'm not a member, and he put me in his cartoon and then shot me.
That's true. I shot him in a cartoon. So if you're not a member, your cartoon character, you might get drawn and shot. I don't know.
Drawn in a cartoon as a cartoon character.
Drawn in a cartoon character.
Ian, what up?
Yo, what up? For real. I love you guys, and thanks for coming. And now follow me. I'm streaming hard, man. So YouTube, Twitch, and X. Ian Crossland is where you find me, but I really want you to follow me on Twitch. I'm building towards Twitch partnership. Once we get 75 concurrent live viewers on average, it goes to the next level. It's going to be huge. So follow me on Twitch. We're streaming. I'm Baldur's Gate 3 I've been doing lately. World of Warcraft, I know.
Finally started playing Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, dude.
I've beaten that game 50 times already.
I know, you animal. I'm playing as a bard. It's pretty cool so far. Yeah. And RimWorld, all sorts of games. It's super cool. Play music, do guided meditations, a lot of cool stuff. So follow me at Ian Crossland. See you later.
Cool. It's been fun having you here, Cody. I
you.
feel like I learn new things about sports every time I come on this show.
Awesome.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. You can find me here most nights of the week. You can also find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b and on Twitter at hannahclaireb. Thanks for everything you guys do. Have a good night.
We will see you all in the members-only show at timcast.com if you want to hear about Seamus and I's shenanigans against these liberal woke podcasters.
Our silly shenanigans.
We'll see y'all over at timcast.com in a minute. Thanks for hanging out.